Hi, folks. Larry Rolla here. Got my pals on with me. Let me bring them on. Anthony, the winemaker.
Hi, everybody.
Thoroughbred trainer. Joe, the ice cream man. The candy. Ron.
Ron, the shipper.
Hi, everybody.
The trucker.
Yeah. Listen, I don't like this ice cream tech.
What do you want to be
All right.
called? All
What do
right,
you-
cotton candy man.
Oh, you call
Candy man.
it Ron the shipper. Okay, horse business.
Yeah, Ron's the
And
shipper.
Anthony the winemaker. Well, Jesus was a winemaker. You passed. Eddie's
Yeah,
the
right.
thoroughbred. I'm the standardbred.
All right.
Understand, right? Oh, yeah, right.
Larry,
Understand.
you're on the FBI most wanted.
You're in the post.
I just want you all to know that I had a very good meeting this Sunday. I drove out to Manny's house with Eddie. Eddie met me out there. And I have to say this. I was very mean and very cruel. I hope he's listening. I should have said this when I don't even know if he's listening or not. But I was, and I'll say it again if he does come on. I was very mean and very cruel. And when I went to his house, I didn't apologize. What I said to him was what I said to him on the podcast. And I said it in front of his wife, and Eddie was sitting right there. And what I said was, I only knew your husband, and he was standing right there on the podcast. And seemed like a really nice guy. I says, but he talks too much. And he talks too much, especially about things he don't know about. He's very argumentative, and he tries to make himself right when you prove him wrong. Didn't I say that, Eddie? Didn't I say all of that right in front of his wife? And I said,
100%.
I said, aside from that, after seeing what he has here, a beautiful wife, 3 beautiful kids, a beautiful home, and he has a good business, I realize now the complete guy, the complete man. He is a really nice guy. He just talks too fucking much. Just like that, I said. I says, and he has to stop trying to make himself right when he was wrong. If he's going to come on a podcast and we're going to talk about building, I would defend him 100%. I wouldn't let a horseman that's been in the horse business for 60 years and never put a nail in a wall ever say anything to him about building a house. I would stop it the same way I'm stopping your husband from this. I says, now we're going to talk about something, a very serious business thing, and I want you in the room as his wife, because I can't talk to him, because he'll keep interrupting me. He'll keep trying to correct me when I know I'm right, and I would like very much for you to be in the room. And you come in with a pad and a pencil, write things down, just shut the fuck up. And we had a meeting that lasted probably 3 hours, and his wife was the most beautiful, understanding person and smart. And in the last 3 days, I must have spoke to her maybe 5-6 times, and she found out so much information and did so much research on what we're working on. And if this thing works, and I know it will work, and it'll be, I'll say this, because Eddie knows what it is. There's nothing, there's nothing in the whole world like this. This will be the first one. And it's something that's very, very much needed. Once I know that we can do this, because there's just one component missing, and that's what I'm waiting for, and that's the research we're doing. We have one, but we're trying to get a better one, and NASA has it, but they're not ever going to release it. It's just for military use. But anyway, and it has to do with the horses. It has to do with horses. So anyway, I just wanted to say that in the event that Manny is listening, and I'm looking on the things, and Manny is not here yet. So, but he's when we and what happened now? Who did we lose? We lost
Oh,
we lost Joe.
He went to the ice cream truck. Where did he go?
Where the hell is he?
I don't know.
He keeps playing with that phone all the time.
Yeah, his
I
hand. I see his hand.
Here he is. Here he is.
What are you doing to me?
That thing.
What'd you do now?
I don't know. I just heard you talking about NASA. And
Yeah.
going to the moon.
Yeah, that was it. I ended it right there.
All right, before you go any further, I better get 10%. That's all I want to know.
We're all
All
getting
right, guys,
10%.
you're my witnesses.
Listen, if this thing works, I'm going to be extremely wealthy, and all I want to do is pay off my house. So if anything happens to me, Joanne don't have to worry about nothing, and the rest I'm sure I'll give away.
Okay.
Okay. But anyway, the meeting, and not only that, but we went there. We were supposed to be a breakfast meeting. We went there at 10 o'clock. She had bacon and eggs and bagels and everything, all kinds of fruits and everything for breakfast. Then we sat and talked for a couple hours, and then she barbecued steaks and hot dogs and everything. It was a really, really good day. It was a good day, and I saw a different side of Manny, and now I understand him, and he understands what I was saying. And I told him, when you're around my friends, you don't have to try to impress them, because you can't impress them, because we talk about horses, and there's 400 years of experience with the horses on that screen, and you have maybe 5 years, and you never drove and you never trained. You own, so it's I'm stopping you from embarrassing yourself when I say shut the fuck up. And I didn't just say it once. The first time I let you get away with it. The second time I says you're 0-2. You two things you said were wrong. So why don't you just shut up? And we went through all of that, and his wife kind of agreed with me. But aside from that, he's a wonderful husband, a good father, a hard worker. He has a really successful business, and he just talks too much. Okay, that's enough about that. All right, let me see. Let me just say hello to everybody real quick.
Yeah.
This is the social club here on the right. All and like I said, all you guys in the comments, put a question mark or a question, so I don't have to keep reading. Hello, Sundance. Hello, Joe. Hello, this. Hello, that. So if you have a question, just put a question up. What's this say? What's Jesse say? Please give Larry a like on the way in. Oh yeah, I have that. I have that thing here. This thing here. Yeah, I should keep that up for a while.
You had the whole banner with the subscribe and ring the bell thing. Where's that whole banner?
The subscribe and ring the bell. I don't know where it is.
Well,
I took the bell for the ice cream truck.
That comes on at the end. Is this all right? I think it's better like this, right? Than like this. It's better like
It's better.
like this.
It's big. I can see you guys' faces now.
yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
All right,
I look like I'm 400 pounds in there, Larry.
you are.
You know why that is?
Look like I'm 400 pounds here.
Yeah, you do look big, Ron.
But that's why you see when. That's why. No, because Ron's screen is down low. If he lifts it up higher, it's on an angle, and it's
on an angle this way up. Yeah.
that's why you look like you.
Let me tell you something. Ron is in perfect shape. He's in like
I know
28-year-old
that's
shape.
right, but he's sitting back, and the camera is low.
Look at that, Larry.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Yeah,
I better put that up like that.
Yeah. That's good. But you
Yeah.
can see the camera is too low. You can see even his backdrop is
Okay.
all.
It's on a slant.
It's on
Yeah.
slant. So
All right.
if he put
Camera
the
needs to
camera,
be more angled in front of you,
if
straight.
he put the camera higher or
Yeah,
whatever,
higher up.
it would be.
No, I don't know what's the matter.
Yeah,
I'm
you
really-
almost had it. You had it. You just
You're doing it right. You just keep putting it back again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
like
look at
that.
that.
Don't
That's
worry
not really,
about it.
That's not
Yeah, but
really
now
me.
lift.
All right, now bring it closer to you.
But if you lift the camera up and bring it closer to you, everything.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
it.
but I'm gonna have to hold this for 2 hours like this, Larry.
No, well, we're gonna have to do the same thing we did with Joe. Get him a stand.
Okay, I got a stand here, but I don't know what's the matter with it. I like to have a higher one. Well, you
Listen,
get a
our
little better.
modeling days are over, Bob.
All
Don't
right,
worry
you're
about
right, Eddie. You're right, Eddie. All
All
right.
right. We'll get to the. Oh wait, let me see what
Yeah, read that.
Howard Liebman. Larry, I appreciate all your friends. Some reaching out to me to get my mind clear for a few hours, mentally and drain. Seeing so many sick people. Cancer Society. Be truthful. Don't hide. Cure for profits. That's Howard went for his test last week, and they come back not good, and he's going through a real tough time now, and I don't know what he decided to do. I sent him all the information, and but I'm sure he'll let us know when he wants to let us know. But we all wish you luck. Everybody's pulling for you. Okay. All right. Everybody's saying hello to everybody, and we'll get to these comments later. Now, you know what? You know how maybe we should start off having a little fun? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to play this, because we're going to try to get Ronnie Pierce on here. But he's a man of few words, and I'm going to play a couple of interviews that were done with Ronnie Pierce, and you can see that he's I don't want to say off center, but he's funny, he's quick witted, but it don't come out fast enough, and he answers a lot of questions with one word. But anyway, here's a couple of
To the point.
Ronnie Pierce. I don't know if you guys ever saw this or not, but I found it on Facebook. I forgot how I got it, but anyway, I got it. So anyway, here it is.
it. Hamiltonian
Go out
Day.
and get to meat. We hunted for most of the food that was on the table.
So Ronnie and his brothers were out hunting, I guess, and or out talking to some guys you weren't supposed to. Weren't there prisoners working? Yeah.
The inmates were clearing brush. In California, they're always clearing brush or making fire breaks or fighting forest fires. And my brother Keith and I, we got a little too close to these convicts, and the foreman didn't like it, so he called up his the superintendent, who happened to be the man my mom married, and he came over to our house, and my mom made him a cup of coffee, and when she opened the refrigerator to get him some milk, there was a deer in there, and it wasn't even deer season, you know. That's how it all started between him and my mom.
Play the races.
Yes, I have. Mm-hmm.
Now be honest, if you were there that night, would you have gone out and gotten like your shotgun and killed one of those deer?
No, it would have been illegal to do that at night. But I did get hungry watching the video.
Well, and it's good to know that, you know, one of those deer, it was Rudolph. That's what Roger Houston said anyway. So it's nice to know that you would not have, killed one of Santa's reindeer.
You know, one of them wasn't Rudolph. I looked at all three of them, and Rudolph was not one of them. Rudolph has a red nose, and none of those deer had red noses.
I,
He's just being a handful. Whoa, whoa,
Oh, boy.
Ronnie landing right on his feet there. Now they're going to...
Oh, geez, Ron.
Dragged away here. So we have a bit of a situation, and Ronnie holding on. Hopefully they can get this horse under control here. And it looks like they did.
Wow.
Pierce hold on.
He is incredible. Let me tell you something. That is a 58-year-old athlete there holding on to a wild horse. And he's sick and he's got the stomach flu. That's a tremendous job by Ron Pierce.
And you know something? He just gets right back in the bike, and he's getting ready to turn and come back out.
I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, think about a guy 58 years old who's been doing this now for close to 40 years, not giving away anything, not letting go of the horse, and then just jumps right back up in the bike. I mean, you just don't see that.
And you know what, too? Ronnie Pierce is brave as they come, but he also helps everybody else in the paddock, because if he lets that horse go, chances are he's going into the paddock, that horse, and running back there and putting everybody else in danger as well. So Ronnie Pierce helping many out and showing how tough he is, holding on there.
So the battle is on with 3/16 to go. Queen Serene on the inside. Passionate Glide trying to slingshot by, and these two are slugging it out toe to toe. It's Passionate Glide. Pierce waves bye-bye, and Passionate Glide will do it. Queen Serene back in second. Passionate Glide, a filly for the ages, takes the filly for turn.
And after several neck and back surgeries, officially retired in 2016. The late-blooming Hall of Famer from California was one of harness racing's and the Meadowlands' all-time greatest drivers. Pierce was the second leading money-winning driver in history with $215 million and 9,568 career wins. His major victories included 4 Meadowlands Pace trophies, 3 Hambletonians, and 4 Little Brown Jugs. Pierce raced 38 seasons at the Big M and was leading driver in 2004 when he was voted Driver of the Year. Pierce had great success in the Breeders' Crown Series and was second all-time with 30 wins. He won a $1 million race a record 6 straight years, and when he won his first race at Freehold in 1975, Pierce never thought he would eventually capture the 1989 World Driving Championship. 1989 was also the year Pierce became the regular driver of multiple stakes winner Casino Cowboy, won the Woodrow Wilson with San Francisco Ben, and was well on his way to a Hall of Fame career. Pierce won his first of 3 Hambletonians with American Winner in 1993. That son of Super Bowl stole away from eventual Trotter of the Year Pine Chip to give Pierce his first $1 million win. 14 years later, Pierce got his second Hambletonian trophy with 2007 Horse of the Year Donato Hanover. His third Hambletonian came in 2010 with Muscle Massive, who upset the favorite Lucky Chucky. No other driver in history has won either the Hambletonian or Meadowlands Pace in 5 straight seasons. On the distaff side, Pierce drove 3-time Older Pacing Mare of the Year Shady Daisy, 2004 Horse of the Year Rainbow Blue, 2-time Dan Patch Award winner Passionate Glide, and 2014 Trotter of the Year and back-to-back Breeders' Crown winner Shake It Carrie. Blissful Hall not only gave Pierce his first of 4 Little Brown Jugs, that son of Cambess was a pacing Triple Crown champion and Meadowlands Pace elimination winner in 1999. Pierce won the Pace 4 times. His first came in 1997 with Dream Away. And in one of the greatest races ever at the Big M in 2008, Artificial upset Horse of the Year Some Beach Somewhere in a world record of 147. Pierce also won the Pace in 2009 and 2011 with Dan Patch Award winners Well Said and Roll with Joe. Well Said gave Pierce his second North America Cup. His first came with Total Truth in 2006. World champion trotter Tom Ridge, triple millionaire Mr. Muscleman, the richest horse of Pierce's career at $3.6 million and runner-up in the Elite Lot, were 2 other top trotters on the Pierce resume. But think of the 2014 season, and one sensational pacer comes to mind. Sweet Lou, a world champion freshman, blossomed into the sport's top open star at age 5. The $3.5 million winning son of Yankee Cruiser reeled off 10 straight wins in 2014 and became the first horse in history to win 6 times under 148, all consecutively. Ron Pierce drove his first Meadowlands winner in 1977, but before becoming a Big M regular, Pierce won driving titles in places like California, Minnesota, and China. Pierce credits Peter Houghton, Shelley Goodrow, Joel O'Brien, and Brett Pelling as some of his major influences. And since first garnering national attention in 1989, Pierce has gained the respect of prominent horsemen with his long list of great wins with top horses. Pierce will also be remembered for his captivating interviews and the classic wave while winning the 2006 Kentucky Filly Futurity with Passionate Glide. And while he may miss racing horses, Pierce will certainly remain active as an avid outdoorsman, a world traveler with a pilot's license, or a gold prospector in Alaska. The Meadowlands salutes Ron Pierce, and here's to more perfect Pierce piloting.
Oh geez, I've been around the racetrack my whole life. In harness racing, we used to race quarters, thoroughbreds, and harness the same day in the fairs in California. And my dad got too big to be a rider, so he went to work for my Uncle Mickey, Toronto, and he started driving harness horses. And I guess I was about 4 or 5 at the time. And I just hung out at the barn and just kind of grew into it. It's a great place to race. I've always did well here. The big end treated me great. Facilities are great. The people are great. The racetrack's tip-top shape. The money's always been the best in the country. They have the best races. They have the Hamiltonian, Meadowlands Pace, Peter Houghton. They have all the big racers. I love competing in all of them. It's the place to be if you want to be at the top. I learn a lot for deer. I have a ball down there hunting deer. Fishing, nothing beats Alaska. That's the best fishing in the world. And then it just depends on what you want to hunt for. Put some clothes on.
Oh, you mean you don't drive naked like you usually do during the summer?
No, we dress for it. We have these winter suits. If it's real cold, we'll put long johns on underneath. Maybe a wool vest if it gets real cold. I put a back brace on also, and I put a little heat pack in there. Right in the middle, there's a little patch for a heat pack. And, that way you keep your organs warm and the rest of you stays warm.
Interesting. Well, you're an avid hunter, so you know all these tricks. But when you go hunting then and it's really cold out, you can't even move. At least you can come into the paddock and get warmed up, right?
It depends on, what kind of hunting you're doing.
Like, what if you're polar bear hunting?
I never polar bear hunted.
All right. It was worth a try. You've hunted in Alaska, though?
No, I did a lot of fishing up there, though. I was in Wyoming hunting one time, and it was really cold, just before the bears went into hibernation, and I had a big old grizzly bear chasing me up a tree.
Oh, interesting. Talking about hibernation, I want to be a bear because I heard that you can gain like 40% of your body weight, and then you get to sleep.
Okay. So if we don't ever get Ronnie Pierce on, at least we heard from him. But
Okay, see you Thursday.
I gotta tell you something. Say something. That man has a hell of a lot of credentials. Now he's in the Hall of Fame, isn't he?
I think so. He should be. I'm sure he is. I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Hey, out of all those drivers that you have had on, Michael LaChance, Billy O'Donnell, Donnie Dancer, this kid here, my God, I mean, he is just
Hall of Fame for trotters.
He just that was very interesting. Because I know him since he's a baby, a kid up in Monticello, and I'll tell you, he came a long way, man. I really give him a lot of respect, and
when he came back
in the Hall of Fame. He's in the Hall of Fame.
He is.
Yeah.
When he came back from China, I don't know if he went to China for that nonsense he pulled in Monticello one night with the bear skin. Everybody knows about that. But after that race with the bear skin, he disappeared, and then I heard that he was in China and all over the world. And then he came back one day, and I was in the paddock, was in the middle of the winter, and they had qualifiers, and hardly nobody showed up. It was snowing and it was very cold, and a lot of the top guys didn't show up, so they needed a lot of drivers. So they called for any drivers that were in the barn area to come over to hop on these horses. So I'm in there with the paddock judge, who was Teddy. Teddy used to work for me years ago, and way back. And so I was talking with him, and who comes walking in? Ronnie Pierce, and I hadn't seen him in years. Everybody was full of ice and mud and dirt, and he come walking in with his brand new, just like you saw him in the film there. His colors all washed and clean, and he says, "Hi, I'm Ronnie Pierce, and if you need any drivers for today, I'm available." And they put him on just about every race, and he would tell every trainer after the race, he'd say, "It's a nice horse. Put me down on him, and I'll win his next start." And he did. And everyone who put him back down, he won his next start. And then he's been a regular there from that day forward. He's quite a guy.
I remember he used to go from barn to barn asking for catch drives.
Yeah, and then it got to the point where he became it was LaChance, Campbell, O'Donnell, and him. And then and that's it. That's it. He's just a fearless guy, and he didn't want to quit, but he got busted up so much, just like all of them guys. I think Michael LaChance was the only one that raced for as long as all the rest of them. All of them guys raced for 40 years or more. I think Michael LaChance was the only one that don't have some kind of rod holding their spine together or their whole body, because all of Catello does. Catello had to pack it in, and Ronnie Pierce too. That if they ever got one more wreck, they'd be paralyzed. So wisely they quit. And Michael LaChance is the only one that he was in a lot of wrecks, but he never really got crippled up. But O'Donnell says he's going to get Pierce on, so we'll see. We'll see. Greg and him, because that'll be a good show. Greg Peck, Billy O'Donnell, Michael LaChance, and Ron Pierce. And Billy says that they'll get him going, because you ask Ronnie a question, he gives you these one-word answers. Yep. He's like that old actor Gary Cooper. Yep, one-word answers. So hopefully they'll get him on. There's another thing that somebody said. Oh, you know who sent me this? Andy Santarama. One of these guys said you spoke to him. He went in today. He went in today for to see how, because he had a major operation. He went in to see today about the valve they put in his heart, if it's working properly. And I told he wants to come on the show, but he don't know. He said his exact words. I got him on. He says you're not going to believe this, but my email don't work. Whatever that means. So I was going to say, and I was going to say, look, I'll have Anthony call you, but I figured maybe he's making that as an excuse. But I think he really wants to come on. And
email doesn't work.
He says my email don't work, and I says all you have to do is give me your email address, and I'll send you a link, and all you got to do is press a button. And he says, but my email don't work. But he'll come on. He'll have. He's quite a character. I don't know if you guys know him that well, but he's quite a character.
Andy Santaramo came up to Monticello back in the 70s. He had a cardboard license plate. He had an old car. It was probably 30 years old, and he wrote numbers on a cardboard license plate and drove into the gate. And he drove around the whole summer with that cardboard license plate. Yep.
Well, he told me, he says that many things he did, the statute of limitations is over, so he have no problem coming on.
Yeah, that's right.
But he's quite a character, and that's another kid that was good. He was good at what he did, and just loved to party, loved to have fun. Even when he was sick, he was very sick. In fact, the last time I saw him, when I went to Florida the last time, we went out to dinner, and that was the last time I saw him. But he was good. There's two really good guys at it down there in Florida not doing too much. Him and Mickey McNichols.
Yeah.
Both of them guys are really good guys, and they're down there out of the horse business doing nothing. And, I gotta get a hold of. I don't do that. I'll tell you what happened. The other day, I get a call, and it's from an old friend of mine, Trade Martin. Now, Trade Martin, most of you guys know him because he was in the horse business too. But what you don't know about Trade is that he in the 50s, he had one of the best bands around in the 50s and 60s. And he was the front guy. And he's a great singer. He's a great songwriter. He wrote songs and produced for some of the top rock and roll groups. And just recently, B.B. King, he did a whole thing with him. Plus, he wrote a lot of commercials for all the airlines. And he's very, 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 very talented. And he always had horses. I trained his horses for him. And he named them after musical instruments or something to do with music. God, the only one I really remember is synthesizer. He had a trotter. They were all trotters. He loved trotters. And I trained them all for him. And he calls me up the other day, and I haven't heard from him in a long time. And he says, "How you doing, Larry?" I says, "I'm doing okay. How you doing?" And he says, "Not too good." Now, me and Trade always got along great. We were great friends because I used to go see him every night. I used to travel all the way down to Jersey Shore every night to see him because back then they played 5-6 nights a week. And Trade was the singer, plus he played the guitar. And he would start at 9 o'clock. This is the truth. He would start at 9 o'clock, and his first break would be midnight. He'd take off for 20 minutes and then sing till 3 o'clock in the morning. And I mean nonstop, one song into another. And every once in a while, you see one of the musicians. I think he had 5 or 6 pieces behind him. They'd go to the bathroom, but he'd just keep on going. He was unbelievable. And how the band broke up one day, he was going to a job. I'm going to talk to him about this too. One of his key men. It was raining out, and he threw the money in the toll booth, and it fell out or something. He got out of the car, and he slipped on the concrete, and he got run over or something. But I don't know. He got killed. And I think that was the end of. I think Trade didn't do much after that. But so anyway, he calls me up, and I says, "How you doing?" He says, "Not too good." I said, "What's the matter?" He says, "I'm really upset. I'm really hurt." I says, "What happened?" He says, "You have everybody on your podcast, and you never, ever asked me to come on." And I said, "Trade, you can come on anytime you want." I says, "I don't ask anybody. All my friends ask me. I says, whoever comes on, I have Anthony or Joe or Eddie ask. I asked 2 times. I asked really once. I made a phone call to Jimmy Marone. And he said, "Yeah." I says, "I'm going to do that whole thing with Wildwood Jeb. When you won the cane, we're going to go. I got all the film for the jug. I got everything. I'd like you to come on and talk about the races that you won." And he said, "Okay, yeah." And then he calls me up the morning that I was supposed to do this. And he says, I don't want to mention any names, but I was told. Now he has from what I understand, he has a job where he makes like 100,000 a year representing a horseman or something like that. That's what I was told. I don't know if that's true, but I know he represents a horseman. And he said I was told not to go on your show because of my reputation in the past. I says, Jimmy, I understand completely. From that day on, I never asked anybody to come on. When I did the show about autistic fellow who won the Meadowlands Pace, I thought that was an interesting story. So I called up my friend Joe, who owned Autistic Fella, and Joe was probably one of the toughest guys I know in the whole world. And he was so bad in Brooklyn that they asked him to leave before something bad happened to him. He was just a bad guy. Tough. Not bad, but tough guy. He goes to the horse sale. The only horse he ever saw was the horse and buggy collecting newspapers. And he goes to the sale with his sister and Don, and he picks out a horse and he buys him. And the horse is Autistic Fellow, who won like $2 or $3 million, won the Meadowlands Pace, and then he sent him to Australia, I think, as a stallion. And so anyway, I thought of in Catello Manzi drove him. So I says, so Joe calls me up, and he says, I'd like to come on your show. I'll send you all the films of the races and everything else. So I says, okay. So he sends me all the film of the Meadowlands Pace and everything. And he says to me, he says, will you call Catello Manzi? He asked him to come on because he drove all the races. And I says, no, I won't call him. I says, I won't call him. He says, don't you know him? I says, I know him since he's a kid. I raced with his father and his uncles, but I won't call him because of what happened. I says, I don't want them guys. They were not involved with me in anything that I did. And I don't want them to be associated with me. In fact, in the book, when I have all the pictures of us, I put in big letters, none of these guys had anything to do with what I did in the past. So anyway, he says, well, I'll call him. He says, he'll do anything for me. So I says, well, if you call him and he wants to come on, that's fine with me. So he calls him. And he calls me back and he says, well, he has to think about it and everything. And I says, don't call him back. Just leave him alone. And I never, ever called anybody after that. And Michael LaChance was the first one that called me and says, I'll come on. Because I was going to end the podcast. And Michael LaChance called me and says, don't end it. I'll come on. And then Joe start getting people. And then Anthony start getting people. And then before you know it, now we have a lot of people that we can come on, and it helped a lot of people too, like Mario Marcelino, that poor kid, poor talented kid, good looking kid, and a freak accident playing with his godson, I think, in the yard playing with them big rubber balls. He snapped his spine, his neck, and he's paralyzed from the neck down. And when I asked him, when I forget who it was, one of you guys asked him to come on, and he came on, and it was so sad to see him. It was the first time I seen him in like 40 years, and for the last 20 years, I guess he's been in a wheelchair, completely paralyzed, with an angel for a wife who takes care of him, and he just sits there. And he was so happy to be on and just talk. And I forget who he has the best. I think both Joe and Anthony have a good relationship with him. Yeah. And they were talking about old times. In fact, I even mentioned that, and he missed the business so much. I mentioned that I was going to get a jog cart and put a bench seat on it and some kind of safety belt. And come up there and get him out of the wheelchair and put him in the jog cart and let him jog a horse. And his wife told me 2 times, don't do it, because he can't sit up by himself.
He can't hold the horse.
No, he can't hold her. He can't do nothing, but just to drive around in a jog cart. But she told me not to do it. But he wanted to do it, but she says no, don't do it. But it's this podcast, even though we talk about a lot of stupid stuff and nonsense, and it helped a lot of people. It helps like just like that guy that came on before that has cancer really bad. And he writes me every day, and he says that this 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, it's the only joy he has in his life. Now, I didn't say that. He said that. Now, maybe he's lying, but he has no reason to lie. But
Why would he lie? He wouldn't lie.
yeah. So I mean, they certain people out there that like it. Now we don't get millions of people listening to this stuff that we do, but it's good, and I'm glad I kept it going, and. And I know that if I did this every day, because there's a lot of people that would like to come on. Mario Marcelino would probably love to come on every night. I mean, that poor guy sits in the chair and it's terrible.
I spoke to him. I spoke to him 2 weeks ago. I think or three. His wife's birthday. I spoke to her and him, and I think her mother was there visiting or something or somebody, and she said I give her a call in a couple of weeks and we'll see if we can get him to go on. So.
Oh, come on.
Rico likes to come on all the time, and I don't know who got him on. Joe Rico. He's right now.
Yeah, we called him up.
Yeah,
Joey will come back on. I'll give him a call. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Is he back?
I don't know, but and sooner or later we're going to get Andy
Santarama
on. We'll get him on, and we'll get Billy O'Donnell on, and back on, and a lot of guys call me and want to come on, but I don't know them, and I'm afraid that they might pull a Manny. I don't want no problems here.
We'll screen him for you, lad.
I just want to have fun. Now, I think Manny's at the point now where even if I did bring him on screen, because he calls me every night before we do the show, like he wants to come on. I know he wants to come on, but in reality, he can't contribute nothing because we talk about horses, and he can't contribute nothing. And I'm still afraid that he's gonna say something to somebody, and then I'm gonna and I don't want to have to say nothing to him. But I think he's okay. I'm gonna go to the videos pretty soon, and I hope he's watching now because there's a 15-minute film of a race that who the hell sent it to me? I forgot who sent it to me. But they says put this on. Your viewers would like to see it, so I think this is it right here. And the reason I'm going to show this, and I hope Manny's watching, because Manny was talking with Ray Schnichter, who's his trainer, and Ray Schnichter and Manny always wants a drive. He likes that, but. So he asked me, and I says, "Look, if that's what you want to do, just get it out of your system." I says, "But there's certain things that could happen." And he says, "Yeah, you know what happened? Remember that kid you had on the show, William, whatever his name was, that young kid the other day? He won he's been driving for 3 years. He won 200 races already." He says there was a real bad accident the other day, yesterday, I think he said. And a lot of people got hurt, and he just missed it. And I says, "Look, if he thinks that if he thinks he's going to go the rest of his life driving horses and not getting one of them wrecks, I broke just about every bone in my body. That's an exaggeration, but I mean the little bones, the big bones from shoulders and ankles and arms and legs to ribs and to fingers, it's going to happen. It's just like riding a motorcycle. It's sooner or later it's going to happen. So I says I'm going to play a film tonight to so you could see a couple of things that could happen to you that happen in horse races, and just be prepared for them. And once you do get in a wreck, there was a driver. I'm not going to mention his name, but there was a driver who was an up and coming young kid, and he drove really well. And he got in a bad wreck one day, and he was out for about a month. And when he came back, he drove very, very careful. He stayed off the guys in front of him. Instead of being had his horse's head right on the guy's helmet in front of him, he was back 2 or 3 feet. And everybody stopped using him. Well, he started going around looking for drives, and I said, listen, I said, everybody knows what you're doing. Everybody sees what you're doing. I says, you can do it with my horse too, but my horse will win anyway. But let me tell you this: if you're an inch behind the horse or 3 feet, if he goes down, you're going down. There's no way to steer around a horse going 35 miles an hour that drops in front of you. If a horse goes down in front of you, you're going over him, and whoever's behind you is going over you. So you might as well just get over the fear and just say that's part of the game, and put your horse's nose on the guy's helmet in front of you where it belongs. Because if you're 3 feet behind, you're still the same thing's going to happen. So anyway, I think this is the race here. It's a very short. It's like 15 seconds.
After the 3/4, we could be on a track record watch here. The track record for 2-year-olds of this type is
So some of the things that could happen. Some of the things that can happen, and some of the things that do happen, and guys like Catello and all of them guys, they had to get out of the game because of that. Did you ever get in a wreck, Anthony?
No, I don't know how I got out of it, but I was racing at the Meadowlands, and I was going to pull behind Cat, but the horse that he was sitting second over, and the horse that was first over, for some reason I just didn't like the way he was going, so I decided to stay on the rail. And just at that minute, that second, that horse went down. Cat went over him, the horse behind Cat, and I just went up the rail, and it was like I came out of a puff of smoke, and I just got out of it. I don't know how. I didn't go down with the rest, but I just got lucky and went through. I was looking on YouTube, and the horse was Eastern Chief. I was driving, and the headline was Eastern Chief avoids accident. And I go to click on the race, and something else came up, and I could never find it again. I'm dying to get that race to watch it again. I used to have it. I used to have a CD with a bunch of other races on it. I don't know what the hell happened to it.
The first bad wreck I got into was very early on. I think it was at Roosevelt Raceway or Yonkers Raceway, just before Tannenbaum booted me out of there. So it had to be in the early 60s. And somebody sent me the paper. I have it here. So the whole back page of the Daily Mirror and the Daily News. They had my picture going into the first turn, the horse in front of me. Just as we're going into the turn, he went right down. I went right over and catapulted me up to the air. And one picture has me about 10 feet in the air. The other picture has me sitting on the ground. And I broke my knee. When I hit the ground, I broke my knee. And I was like not unconscious, but like really fucked up. And I remember somebody picking me up, and it was my father. He had jumped over the fence, and he ran onto the track, and he picked me up because the horses kept going around. You know, they were coming to the half, and I was right there in like four horse position, 5 horse position, and somebody was picking me up. It was my father. That was the first bad wreck I ever got into, and then there was the next to the bad wreck I got into was the one where Bobby Merton finishing at Monticello. Bobby Merton's horse went right down, right one, not even a step. He just dropped, and I went right over him, and that's when his leg came off, and I landed on the hub rail. Back then, Monticello had a hub rail, and that hub rail was like about a foot and a half wide. It wasn't just a rail; it was like a foot and a half wide, and maybe a foot and a half off the ground.
It was a platform. It was a stage.
Yeah, yeah, and I landed on that, and the horse landed on top of me and crushed all my ribs and everything. And I woke up in the hospital next to Bobby Merton, and when I saw his leg, that's when I asked the nurse for a phone. I called up Monticello, and I told John that Bobby's leg is off. You better, from the knee down, you better call a, and they got him out of there, and they wind up reattaching it, but it was as big as a bat. It was very, very skinny, and but he was able to walk on it. But I don't know how they saved it because the only thing that was holding it on was skin. You know, it was laying next to him, but his foot was by his head. You know, it was terrible. So that was the second worst wreck. And then the third worst wreck was at Green Mountain Park. It was a frozen racetrack. It was probably 10 below zero. It was the last race. I had a horse in every race, and Gabe Bonacci puts me on a horse called Miss Carol U, I think it was, a rotten puller, and I get the 9 hole, and that's a trailing position up there. And I was numb. I was frozen. I had 2 inches of ice all over me. Anyway, the gate opens up. The horse in front of me, instead of leaving, and I'm right on his back. Instead of leaving, he's taken back, and I couldn't hold it. I couldn't get around it because I elected to stay behind the horse I thought was going to leave the gate. So anyway, we go down. I'm in and they had no ambulance. It was the last race at Green Mountain. No ambulance, no nothing. So we walk into, and George Sadowski's helping me back. And I'm pounding the ice off me. I can't use my right arm. And I'm pounding the ice off me to get the zipper down. And they get the zipper down. They get my left arm out. And then when they get my right arm out, it right from here down, it just flops. I snapped the whole thing right here. And I never felt it. That's how cold I was. And they rushed me to the hospital, and they says that the X-ray technician left, and the surgeon left, and you have to come back in the morning. So they give me 2 Tylenol and put the arm back in place and wrapped it up with brace bandage. And I went back in the morning. Them were the 3 worst ones I was in, but I was in probably 50 other ones. So, Manny, if you're listening, that's what you have to look forward to. I don't want to scare you, but you're a tough guy, so you shouldn't be scared.
I had a catch drive in Freehold, and it was raining pretty hard that day, and the handholds were way back. Now, when I scored her down, she wasn't bad. As soon as she got behind the gate, she started pulling like a mad woman. So the gate leaves. I'm trying to get my hands to wrap around the lines just to try to get a grab, of the lines, and I couldn't do it. She was just pulling too hard. So all during the race, I keep looking sideways to get out, and everybody's yelling, "Don't come out, don't come out, don't come out." Now I'm climbing over the horse, literally climbing over the horse in front of me. Her head is over the shoulder of the driver in front of me. He's bashing his helmet on the horse's face. Luckily, coming around the last turn, the rail opens up. I go up the rail, win the race, paid $144. But all during the race, all I seen was me going down and taking horses down with me. Just got lucky. The rail, if that rail didn't open up, I would have went down. I would have climbed over the horse in front of me.
You know, something comes to mind when you said that. I talked to Michael a chance when he was on the show, and I says, "Do you believe in the professional courtesy out on the racetrack?"
There was no courtesy there. Let me tell you. And they seen I was in trouble.
And Michael LaChance said no. He says, "I'm friendly with everybody. I'll help everybody, but once I'm out there, it's strictly business." Well, I don't know which way to fall in that category, especially when they start making the rules. You can't give holds. You can't let a guy go, and unless you come right back, they start making all these crazy rules. But what happened to me one time at Monticello, I had a horse and I got locked in. There were 2 tiers. A guy left and never made the top, and going to the half, there were 2 tiers already. And I was like third on the rail, locked in. And the guys in front, the guy cutting it was backing up into the horse that was parked the whole mile, and they were going slower and slower. And I was in a lot of trouble. And my horse started wheezing, choking. And I look over, I says, "Jimmy, you got to let me out." Jimmy Grundy was on the outside of me. And there was a hub rail there, so I had nowhere to go. I says, "Jimmy, I'm in trouble. You got to let me out." And he says, "You'll be fine. You'll be fine." And the horse went down, snapped his neck. I got busted up, and I lost the horse that day. And Grundy laughed about it in the paddock. And from that day, I had no respect for Grundy, and I was happy. I was happy when he left Monticello and went to California. And prior to that, I had all the respect in the world for him because he would be drunk up until 4 o'clock in the morning and still show up at the barn at 5 and work all day and work all night. And he was a good driver. He was a good horseman. He was a drunk, but he did his job. But I lost all respect for him after that. Now, I think even Michael LaChance, when Michael says when it's on the racetrack, it's all business. But even though Mike says there's no professional courtesy out there, I think if Mike was on the outside of me and said, "Mike, I'm in a lot of trouble. Give me some
When
room."
he's in trouble, yeah, that's different. That has nothing
Because
to do with
that's
common
safety.
courtesy.
Of
That has
course he
nothing to
would
do
have.
with strategy. You could take other horses down with you. You know, you have to consider that.
Oh, I did. The ones behind me went down, but there were only 2 behind me. So
I know, but still, Grundy
Larry.
should have realized, and just like those other drivers on the side of me knew I was in trouble. One of them should have let me go.
all right, before we ask Ron to tell us some of his
I was
fantastic,
just gonna say, you got the greatest storyteller over here.
yeah, I just
And you're like,
I wanted to
we
get
gotta hear some people flying out of the back of trucks.
I
And,
wanted to get all the nonsense out of the way first. And
Oh,
one,
Larry, you never finished the story about that guy that played the guitar and the music and everything else. And
Oh,
Right, he got right off of that.
let me finish that, and then I want to go on to one more thing, and then we'll give the Ron. Okay. So anyway, Trade Martin calls me up,
there you
and
go.
he was insulted, and so I says, "Okay." I says, "You want to come on Tuesday?" And he says, "No." I says, "You want to come on Thursday with Frey?" He says, "No, I want to come on by myself." I says, "Okay." So we'll do it Wednesday, 8 o'clock. He says, "Okay." And there are so many things that we can talk about. So you guys should listen tomorrow with Trade Martin. The guy probably wrote 3,000 songs, a lot of them recorded, a lot of them he probably wrote well over 1,000 videos, and he's just a very, very talented guy, and he was born to be what he is. He's like one of them savants. He's just a great guy, and we're going to talk about a lot of things, a lot of favors he did for me when I used to have my parties and everything else. Okay, so
Didn't
that
you have him on a Thursday night? Wasn't he on one of your shows?
he
on
was
Thursday?
he was never on. That's what he's mad about. That I
he's
never
on
asked.
Freddie's show. Isn't he on the alumni show?
Oh, he was on Freddie's show, and you showed
Yeah.
Freddie's show.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was it. I knew I seen him.
All right. The other thing that I wanted to say, because I gotta say this because I'm responsible for this.
The Harness Racing Alumni is currently producing a tribute video to Mike LaChance. Mike LaChance is one of our sport's greatest drivers of all time, a winner of over 10,253 races, with career earnings exceeding $180 million. He is a winner of 4 Hamiltonians, 3 North America Cups, 27 Breeder Crowns, a winner of the 1987 Payson Triple Crowns, inducted into both the U.S. and Canadian Harness Racing Hall of Fames. To become a sponsor of the tribute to Mike LaChance, please visit www.ustrots.com.
Okay.
Now, here's Ronnie.
Now, let me just say this, Ron, first. The reason I
ahead.
keep this up is because I was the one that started this whole thing. I mean, as far as asking for sponsors, because Ronnie and I say this every time, and I'm going to say it again. For 10, 12 years, Ronnie been going to
Freddie.
You
mean Freddie?
Freddie, yeah, Freddie going to Washington to help promote and get things done for harness racing. And he's been dealing with the Jockey Club, and they got a couple of things done that he never gets credit for, but he was responsible for a lot of it. And the guy, that's what the guy did on his own dime. So when he called me one day and he says, I did a real good show, because he has his own show. It's not a video, it's an audio show with him and Trade Martin and Bob. And he says, it was a real interesting show. Can we play it on your podcast? And I said, sure. And then we start talking, and he says, I'd like to do a tribute to some of these guys that are still alive, that are in the Hall of Fame. And I says, well, if that's what you want to do it. But you can't keep doing things for free. How many years, and when are you going to run out of money? So I says, let's just ask for sponsors. So it was my idea. That's why I'm doing this. And I feel responsible. Now, I know everybody that's on the screen right now contributed last time, and they contributed this time. I already know that. So I'm asking everybody that's out there. We're going to do 1 or 2 more. I know he's doing O'Donnell next. I think he's going to do Campbell. I think he's going to do Catello Manzi. He should do Pierce. But then I told him again. I says, it's not my nature to ask for money. I says, and I don't want you to do it for nothing, but I can't. It's terrible. So if you do it every month, it's not too bad, or every 2 months. But anyway, it is what it is. So that's why I'm asking everybody, just go to that website that you saw on the screen and just contribute, because every website, every podcast I do now, I'm going to say this to try to help them out. Okay, Ron, it's all yours. Talk about whatever you want to talk about. Let's go. You're the best storyteller.
Yeah, right. Well, you guys were talking about accidents. I saw one at Yonkers. John Brennan had a horse. It was he was the favorite in New York Sire Stakes final, and he left, and somebody parked him to the quarter in 27-4, which was very fast at that time, and he faded back to last. So going to the half, the very horse on the lead, fell down and took 6 other horses with him. He actually finished and won the race, and the other horse that had a scatter wide finished second. But I think he also got 3rd, 4th, and 5th place money beside that. I'm not sure, but that's what I was told. But from the disappointment, that he showed from his horse being parked, he's totally out of it. I think the race went in 2-7 or something like that. But he ended up winning and got 3rd, 4th, and 5th place money. So, but there was the other 6 horses were all over the track, and the jockeys were all over also. But I think that was the only one I saw. There was just some of those things. All of you guys have heard of Gene Matucci, right?
Yep.
Remember him? He was really a nice guy, little short, heavy set guy. Which I found very interesting was he would come to work to train horses dressed like he's going to a barbecue. You know, he had a khaki pants and a shirt, and he wore moccasins. You know those things that you break
Yep.
out when summer comes, right?
Yep.
That's how he would walk into
Flip-flops.
the walk into the stall. But he had a horse. He had a horse in a sire stakes on a Wednesday night, and I had a horse on there for Houghton and for Molly Darish. And I used to park the truck right by the race office. Jimmy Michaels was the presiding judge, and instead of going around the back, he let me park there, and I pulled the ramp down. Anyway, this horse raced, and the groom was intoxicated, and he cooled him out, and he had him on the truck. While we were waiting for the other horses, three guys walked by the truck, and they had been drinking, and they were yelling up in the truck. They were cursing, "Oh, which one of these nags was up here?" And, "Oh, these horses belong in the glue factory." So the groom, who was drunk, he was standing at the top of the ramp in the truck, and he said, "Why don't one of you come up here and tell me that to my face?" So, of course, they did. One guy ran up there, grabbed him by the back of the neck, knocked him out right into the stall. He was laying there, but he was drunk too. He was drunk. And the guy, and he looked at me and he said, "You want any of this?" I said, "No, I'm good. I got nothing to do with this." That was it. Anyway, so he had a bottle with him. So we waited for the other horses and drove back to Roosevelt Raceway. He was still drunk, still actually passed out in the stall. So Gene Matucci was like in barn E or F or something like that. So I parked the truck right there, right in the road. I pulled the ramp down. I took Houghton's horse, put him away, and Molly Darish. I took his. Like I said, I had the ramp down. I put the harness bag 3 or 4 feet from the end of the ramp. Took him under the shoulders. I dragged him down the ramp and put his head right on the harness bag. Put his horse in the stall. Gave him a flake of hay and some water, and put the ramp up and drove away. After I mucked the truck out, I came back with my car. He was still laying there, not in the road, but off to the side, still passed out. So next day, Gene Matucci came to my office, which is a trailer by Kelly's Harness Shop, and he said, "What happened to Yonkers last night?" I said, "What happened to Yonkers last night?" I said, "Your groom almost got my ass killed. That's what happened." I said, "He was drunk. He was yelling and screaming at these guys, and the guys went up and punched him out." He said, "Well, couldn't you do anything about it?" I said, "No, Gene, I'm not the guy's babysitter." And he was so drunk, it was unbelievable. He said, "But you just left him in the middle of the road." I said, "I think I did you a favor because I was going to leave him in the truck. And when I dragged him out of that truck, he wasn't the sweetest smelling individual in the world, and he just was there." He says, "Well, he's got to go to Yonkers next Wednesday." I said, "That's no problem. I'll take him." I said, "I hope I don't see him, but I'll take your horse." I would never threaten him because I don't like to be threatened. But, if you want to send him, send him. But the next week he wasn't there. But, he wasn't too happy there. I just left him in the middle of the road there. But, it was like 1:30 in the morning, on a Wednesday night. But that's just some of the things that happened there. I think somebody mentioned last week a guy by the name of Joe Maneri. Did you mention him, Joe?
Yeah, I know Joe Maneri well. Yeah.
Was he like a horse undertaker or something?
A horse undertaker?
Well, he got rid of dead horses.
I don't think so.
Well, there was a guy that did that on the track.
The only people that did that was that a girl and her father.
Well, I remember I was at Louis's house one Sunday, and we were there, for dinner. And Louis said to me, "Make sure your wife doesn't go in the barn, for the next hour, because a horse had died in there, and I guess he got rigor mortis or whatever it is."
Uh-huh.
And this guy came. This is a true story. Came and he sawed his legs off with a chainsaw.
Yeah, but they couldn't get him out of. You can't get him out of the stall.
Can't get him out of the stall.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. And then put a winch on him and pick up and dragged him out.
Yeah.
But he got, his legs were straight out like that, and
once rigor mortis sets in, it's like
you couldn't get him out of the stall.
Steel girders.
Yeah, but that's just what happens. It's just I just read something the other day. I'm sure you guys know that horses are what's called obligate nasal breathers. That means they can't breathe out of their mouth. They can only breathe out of their nose. I never knew that. I never knew that before, but that's what that's called. That's one of the main reasons that a lot of people I was talking to Joe last week about stopped oiling horses to go on big trips. Because you have to stick the hose down their nose into their stomach, right, Joe? And
Yeah.
and and as, when they're doing that, sometimes they gag and everything, and they can't breathe out of their mouth. So sometimes they have that problem. But I told Joe that I think we only did that 1 year with the Houghton horses because Billy was deathly afraid that there was going to be an accident, and that tube would go into their lungs instead of into their stomach. But I can tell you one thing: I wasn't unhappy about it because when that truck got to Florida, you needed a steam cleaner to clean that truck
Yeah,
out.
that's a messy trip.
I mean, you can't believe what that truck looks like when they get
we
done.
know.
I believe that when I rode down with Prosino in the back of that thing.
Yeah, yeah. He was,
I
yeah,
was full of horse shit and piss all the way
yeah.
down.
But they just like I said, they explode. I mean, after 100 miles, you can forget about it. But you talk about Jerry Bassino. He was one of the first people when I went in business that gave me a chance, gave me
Yeah.
horses like Freddie Hudson's father, Billy Hudson, those kind of people,
Yeah.
Austin Hope. But but I didn't realize that you were like with him, Eddie, or you worked for him.
Yeah,
But
I worked for Jerry a long time. I
yeah,
started with Jimmy Tallman, then I went to Coco, and
right,
then I went to Jerry Pacino, and then I went to Pompano, and
yeah.
then I went on my own after a while.
Then he worked for the Bon Vivant stables.
Yeah.
Bon Vivant stables.
Yeah. Jerry Bassino later became a thoroughbred trainer.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
he matter of fact, many, I don't know, maybe I would say 10 years ago, he had a nice colt that I think he ran in the Florida Derby and stuff, and I think he win, and he sold them for $1.5 million or something.
Really?
No, Jerry
Wow.
was a real go-getter.
Yeah.
When he went down to Pompano, him and his, I don't know if you remember his wife, Helena, the one from the Bon Vivant, they got into real estate. Oh, wow. They had homes on the Intercoastal, Pacific Highway 1.
Really?
They really did it up really good. Jerry really became very prosperous.
Yeah.
Still
His
alive?
father was quite a salesman too. He used to peddle all that vitamins and stuff and all of these
His
remedies.
father, yeah. Then his Jerry's brother took it over, and then they were selling that the bleeder medicine and the vitamins and the Egyptian oil and the myrrh and
Snake
all
venom.
this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, he had. I think he had a horse by Seahawk Hanover called See the USA.
Yeah,
Yes,
yes,
he did.
Seahawk Hanover. Yeah.
He was by Seahawk Hanover. See the USA. He was a good horse, and
He was a chestnut.
Yeah. And he went to Florida. I remember him in Florida. He had a real good trotter. Had an open trotter there, and
I think it was Sean Carlisle. That was the trotter. I think he had.
Nobody could do anything with him but him. He was the only one that could keep that horse trotting.
Yeah,
Sean
keep him
Carlisle.
flat.
Yeah. He was a nice guy, laid back guy. Didn't get excited.
What used to get
Very
me crazy with him. When I first started, I started with Jerry Persino. Well, Jerry started with the thoroughbreds first, and then he came to harness racing. And in '59, I think, he was on his horse farm with Pat Quaglietta, Ronnie and Gracia, and they all started there, and that's where I started. And Jerry Persino always had a cigarette right on the side of his mouth, not in the front, on the side of his mouth. And when he talked to you, he'd come right up to your face, and he would always finish your sentences. Like when you were talking, he would always finish your sentences. It used to drive me crazy. I don't know if you guys had that experience with him, and sometimes he was right, and sometimes he's finishing your sentence and he was wrong, and you didn't know how to handle it. Like you just want to say, Jerry, do me a favor. Step back 1 foot and shut the fuck up. But he was a good guy. He helped me a lot when I decided to leave Delaware and with the thoroughbreds, and I couldn't get stalls in Gulfstream, and so I went to uh, uh, the farm, and Jerry gave me some stalls at Calder because stalls at Calder were impossible to get, but Jerry gave me stalls that he helped me a lot. He's a good guy. I asked you before, is he still alive, Jerry?
Yes, I think so. Yes, yes.
Because I asked on Facebook, I think his kid is on there, his son, and nobody ever answers me if he was still alive because I haven't heard from him in a long time. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, just yeah, he was a nice guy, and he went to Florida every year, and then he would come back. He was over in, I think, Double A Barn, wasn't he, Eddie?
Where at Roosevelt?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was in Double A. Yeah, he's back there. But I had a lot of experience with him. I actually my
Jerry
first
still alive.
my first experience in the thoroughbred business. A friend of mine in the building introduced me to a thoroughbred trainer in Florida. His name is Danny Hartek. Hartek. You ever hear of him, Eddie?
Yeah.
Danny Hartek? No.
Yeah, yeah. He was years ago.
Well, I
he
know
was-
the jockey, the Hartek jockey, but I don't know him.
No,
but I know
yeah. His horses now race under his wife's name is Donna Green. I don't know if you ever heard of her.
No,
But
no, I don't.
yeah, he had a lot of horses. He had a lot of horses there, and through a friend of mine, we claimed this thoroughbred off of Jerry Pacino. And when my friend told me that, I said, I don't know if you want to claim one or claim it off of him. I said, I've known him, back in the Roosevelt Raceway Standardbred days. Anyway, we did never even got a third with the horse. Finally, we had to give it away, but didn't have any luck with it at all. But because I think he had a few tricks and he knew what he was doing, and I didn't think
Yeah,
we
he
should
was
have claimed
pretty
the horse.
sharp. He was a pretty
Yeah.
sharp horseman.
Yeah, but that was it. But I never heard anything more after that from him. I saw him there, said hello to him, but that was it. So that was basically it. But I don't know. It's just. Joe, were you around the days at Roosevelt Raceway when it was later in the '80s when they had the 4-H club come there on a Saturday, show
I
the
was
kids
there for
everything?
sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
George Morton Levy asked me if I would put two of my trucks right in the front, right where the big Roosevelt Raceway sign was there,
Mhm.
So I put those two big stainless steel ones I got from Alex Nichols there and put the ramp down, and we bedded the truck down. And then I brought 6 horses up on a 6-horse van. We showed the kids how to load, 3 on one, 3 on the other, and they were going in and out of the truck, and we weren't looking, and they had the door open to the tractor, and the kids were jumping up in the sleeper, and I had like a cotton candy machine there.
I got
And,
one of those.
Yeah, a cotton candy machine, and they had, they have those spools, and they were up
Yep.
in the sleeper of the driver with the cotton candy. Oh, my drivers were going crazy. They weren't supposed to be up there, but they did. And after that was all over, the head of the maintenance crew at Roosevelt Raceway said to me, "Next time we have any of those things, don't even think about having that cotton candy machine." He said, "We're still picking those spools up in it 2
Yeah.
weeks ago."
I know.
Yeah,
I
but-
make them up.
Yeah.
My uncle used to. You remember the World's Fair when they had the Budweiser horses coming?
Yeah.
Well, my uncle used to drive those the carts around that they pulled, the 6
Right.
horses they had,
Yeah.
and he used to be like it's the stagecoach or whatever it is, but he was like he drove those horses around the World's Fair
Yeah.
and
Those,
big Clydesdales.
Yeah.
I remember there was some at Yonkers Raceway, and man, the horses actually got intimidated by the size of them.
Yeah, they're huge.
They're unbelievable. Like
They're actually called draft horses
yeah,
because that big thing you thought was a stagecoach, if you look more carefully, is huge barrels of beer.
Right. I know it's not a stagecoach, but
Yeah,
that's
they
how I could
all
explain
the
it.
barrels of beer there, and they got the
Right.
Dalmatian and everything.
Right.
They had them at the Meadowlands too.
Yeah,
They had pictures of them from the
yeah, but
Meadowlands.
their hoofs are like this.
Yeah. They're like shovels.
Yeah. We,
Unbelievable.
I was at a horse sale once, and George Steinbrenner was there, and he asked the owner of those. I think his name was Bush.
Yeah, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis.
Anheuser-Busch, yeah. And he asked him if he could buy a yearling, right? And he said to him, I know you have a lot of money, and I don't want to insult you, Mr. Steinbrenner. He said, but you don't have the money in the world to buy one of these horses from me. So he had a certain breed, those ones that put on those shows, and they were in Busch Gardens and all that. And George Steinbrenner wanted one of them, and he said, you don't have enough money to buy that from me. I wouldn't sell one of those for anything. But
Wow.
we went to the stables where they have them, and I'm telling you, you could perform operations in there. It's so clean and neat, and all the horses there. But it was very interesting in that Busch Gardens how they took care of those horses. And,
Immaculate. They were really unbelievable.
They took them out of
really
Busch
was.
Gardens now. They're not even there anymore.
Yeah, but
Well, the ones in Florida right now, they aren't there.
yeah, I haven't been there in a while, but that was experience to see that, and it's interesting to see how they took care of those horses. But boy, they are groomed really, really quite well.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it really
Oh,
is.
the
They're all
Anheuser-Busch
dappled
horses,
out and
yeah.
shiny and
Yeah. But so Larry, let me just change the subject and ask you a question. Can you give us a hint on what you might be doing with the big meeting that you had?
Well,
Maybe how about just a little hint?
ah,
How could you break it down, Larry, without releasing all of the info?
I really can't. You were there, Eddie. You're the only one. There's only.
Well, I don't say nothing, but if you want me to say how I would say it, just to give.
Oh, I don't want you to say nothing.
All right. No, nothing. I don't want to.
I think, Ron, you should call Larry on his private line.
Okay.
That's
All
the
right.
best way to handle it.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. And we mentioned this yesterday and Eddie was right there. I got, and I'll go through this real quick. I invented a modified harness years and years ago. The reason I invented a modified harness, I had a horse and I forgot his name, but I blistered he had bow tendons, and I put some ball solution on him. He come right out of the tub. I rubbed him dry, and I put some ball solution on him, and then I figured, let the ball solution dry. I come back later and I'll do him up. In between that time, he laid down. When the horse lays down, they fold their front legs underneath. And he blistered his whole belly because the ball solution was still wet. Now, he was in the go in 2 days, and he couldn't lose. And I was going to make a big bet on him. But he has this big blister there.
And I couldn't put the girth.
So I made an elastic girth, and then I forgot how I do it. All I know is that I won a bunch of races with that harness. I made it special. I forget how the hell I did it. The girth was just like, in other words, everything was supported and structured in a way where it didn't hit the girth. The girth everything was on the top of the harness. I forgot. Anyway, Buddy Gilmore happened to be in a race with me. He says, what the hell kind of rigging is that? And I told him, he offered me $100 a race, that if he could use that thing, because the horse I put it on, he went for fun. Anyway, I went into the harness shop and I tried to make it simpler because anyway, the guy stole it from me, and then he created a harness back then called the modified harness. That was a variation of what I did. But prior to that, everybody just used a regular harness, just like this. So anyway, that was the first thing. The second thing is when the breathe right strips come out. I was in Florida, and the breathe right strips come out for humans. And back then, horses, and very few people knew about this, but I knew it because I used to hang out with Dr. Carter back in the day, and every once in a while we would cut a horse's false nostril. Now the false nostril is the skin above the nostril in the horse's nose. Right above that, it's just it's skin. It's hollow. But that's called a false nostril. And what happens many times is that through the years, when you put the race halter on, you put it on tight, and then when a horse is going, he's opening his mouth, and the halter keeps it closed, but it's like a belt strangling you. And the nerves that run down that control the flare. Whenever you see a flare like that, it's because the nerves do that. So when he breathes in, the false nostril goes in, just like when you breathe in. And when he breathes out, between the air coming out and the nerves, it goes back into the position and flares out. Well, them nerves get damaged, and when if the trainer is sharp enough to realize that, for whatever reason, maybe you hear them wheezing or roaring or whatever. But there's a lot of horses out there that have a false nostril problem, and they don't even know about it. But we cut many of them out, and then what it does is, when you cut all that skin out, it's about 2 inches high. You got a nostril that's oblong, like maybe 5 inches. It looks ugly. It looks terrible. So what I did was I invented the breathe right strip to go right where the ones today go, and they hold that false nostril from collapsing, so it could never collapse. Or when it does collapse, when he breathes in, the breathe right strips, the spring in there pushes it up in case the nerves are damaged. But I had to find a glue that would hold.
How you keep it there?
Waterproof.
I had to find a glue that would stay on a damp horse or a wet horse, and the skin around in that area is very tender. It's very fine. So you had to have a special glue so that it's stuck on and stayed on, but when you pulled it off after the race, it didn't rip the skin off. So I was going back at that time. 3M had a plant down in Florida, and I was going back and forth. But every time I went to them, they wanted 500, 1,000 to try to, and then they give me it, and I try it and everything. Finally, I ran out of money, and I told the vet about it, and he stole the idea.
That happened to me. Something like that happened to me. When I was working for Johnny Chapman, I took care of, he was like an A2, A3 pacer. His name was Josias. And the horse would run down really bad. So he used to come back all bloody and raw, behind. And I went home and I said, I got to get something to correct this. So what I did was I got these, back then we used canned coffee, like Maxwell House or chock full of nuts. And they had the plastic cover on them. So what I did was I got the covers, I cut the edge off them. I made round circles. I cut like a pie shape out of it. And then I sewed it together. So it was like a cone. You know what I'm saying? And I covered it with sheepskin. And I put a piece of foam underneath where it would cup right to the bottom of the ankle. And over it, I put brace bandages or vet wrap or whatever. And Mr. Kelly at Kelly's Harness Shop saw me putting it on. He said, Joe, what's that you got on? I said, well, I made these rundown patches because come back all bloody and raw. About 2 weeks later, I see him selling them in the shop, Kelly's Harness Shop. I just did it to help one horse, and he picked it up right away, and he started selling it.
So that's why I don't know how to say what I'm working on without saying it, because once I say it, it's out there, and I have to tell you that if I accomplish this, and it's already done, I'm just waiting for one ingredient now that It's not no kind of leg pain. It's not no kind of. It's a piece of equipment. I shouldn't even said that because
That's
it's.
all. That's enough. You said enough.
But it's
You don't have to explain yourself. Don't even.
really a piece of equipment. But there's nothing like it out there, and they should be. But because I can't say more because you'll probably figure it
All
out.
right. Larry,
I'll tell you off.
send me 100,000 tomorrow. Otherwise, I'm going to say it in the public right now. I got your word.
No, the biggest problem I'm going to have if I put all the pieces together, and that's why I went to see Ron. That's why I went to see Manny. I says, Manny, and I told his wife, right? Eddie was right there. I says, the only reason I'm here is because I don't have the money to go any further. I went as far as I could go. I've been working on this for more than 20 years. I says, and I brought a whole bunch of stuff with me. And in fact, Eddie saw it. I brought it in the house, and I brought a lot of stuff with me. And I must have spent $10,000 through the years on all of this stuff, looking and everything, and a whole lot more than that going on dinners and visiting universities and this and that and everything. Who knows how much I have spent? But now I'm in a position, and I told him, I says, look, the only reason I'm asking this, and if Eddie was there, he would say when before I started, Manny says to me, well, what, you got to do this first and this first and this first, and like don't come to me for money until you have everything in place. And that's when I said what I said, because I don't, I says, look, the reason I'm here is for money. If I had the money, I wouldn't be here. I don't have the money to go any further. I just paid somebody $500 to advise me on one question. I can't keep doing this. I says, I haven't worked in 30 years. I says, and my Social Security being in the horse business, you know what that's like, especially the route I took. It's not very much. I says, and I'm embarrassed to say this, and the only reason I'm saying it is because you're telling me that before I come to you, I should have this patented, I should have this, I should have done. It costs $3,500 for a patent. It costs so much to form a corporation. I says, but and plus what I says that's why I'm here. Now what Manny did right after that is he says, I got to see you outside. He takes me outside, and he says, I got a couple of thousand here. Take it. I says, no, I don't want it. I says, I didn't say what I said to let you know that I need to, or to let you say that I need money. I said it in an answer to your question, because if I don't answer that question in the way that I did, I can't answer your question, because your question to me was, why didn't you have it patented already? Because I don't have the money. That's why I had to say that. There was no way to answer your question. What am I going to say? You're right. I'll come back when I get it patented. So I said it. And I have to say this. I turned the money down. And right after that, and Eddie didn't know what we were talking about outside. Right after that, Manny went to the bathroom, and Eddie gets a hold of me, and he says, I'll give you whatever you need. And that was very nice. And I says, I don't need anything. I'm fine. I says, I didn't say that. And again, and before I left, he says to Manny, he says, you sure you don't want this? And I says, I didn't come here to borrow money. I come here to make a deal. I have the idea. I put 10 years into this, maybe more. I says, I need a money guy. That's why I'm here. I'm not here to borrow money or to take money. My life and my personal life, I'll figure out by myself. I did it my whole life. I had millions and I owed millions. I'm still here and paid everybody every penny back. I'm here to make a deal. And I didn't take money, and I didn't take Eddie's money. But I thanked them. I thanked them very much. But I think that this thing got me so wound up now that I went, and Manny's wife is very good. And she's been helping me a lot in the last 2 or 3 days. And if we find this one ingredient, and it's going to happen even without this ingredient, Eddie, because what
Yeah.
what Manny says. So maybe it not. I can't get something that's going to last a lifetime, but I'll just have it like renew it every 6 months or something like that. You know.
I'll tell
So
you what, Larry. What your presentation of that was off the roof, top of the charts. That was
well,
a real great presentation with your display.
well, I had a little booklet that I wrote. I wrote out a little
No,
booklet.
not even that. That whole setup you had, and that was the presentation was phenomenal. It was very
That's
good.
why. That's why I will say this. That's why I really believe. In fact, I would bet my right arm against the dollar that it's going to be mandatory for every horse that races.
All
That's
right,
how.
go to the comments. Stop the Z.
You,
Oh,
you,
Yeah.
my advice to you, that who could help you?
who's that?
Elon Musk.
No, I don't need that. In fact, the biggest problem I'm going to have is why I need them. I don't look the 3,500 for the patent, this and that. That's all bullshit money.
I'm
Even
not
if
talking about money. I'm talking about knowledge.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Yep.
The biggest problem I'm going to have after that is that if I'm right and it becomes mandatory, it's going to be, and I mentioned this at the meeting, it's going to be there was a time when I invented something that could be sold at Walmart and Kmart's. And I went into the store and they said, "Oh, this is great. This is great. We'll put it right by the register there and everything else." And they says, "Okay, we can sign it. We'll sign a deal right now. We have 2,500 stores, and we're going to take probably 10 cases for each stall." And the only things that I had about 20 of them. And I says, "How the hell?" And that's going to be the problem. And I had to turn the deal down because I couldn't. I wasn't in a position. I didn't mass produce them. I made them myself. So and I didn't know how to mass produce them. I didn't have everything in place. And this time I have everything in place. I'm going to have the company. I have the companies that are going to make it. I have everything in place. What I don't have in place is the money, and that's why I went there.
If
So
it comes through, it's worldwide. That's definitely going to be worldwide.
it'll be worldwide, and the biggest problem I'm going to have is manufacturing. But we found a company today that not only has the one thing that we need, but they also will manufacture and put the rest of it together. So it's going to be you need money, and when you talk to these companies, you got to talk to them like you're a company that's established, and what's it going to cost if you want 300,000 of these things, and it's going to cost a lot of money. You got to be ready for it, because if this thing becomes mandatory, that means just like when whatchamacallit made the cheetah bike. The judges wouldn't let him use the cheetah bike unless he built 30 of them, so every driver could race in a cheetah bike. It's the same thing. If this becomes mandatory, I have to make sure that I have enough of these things for every horse that's racing every day, and that's where I need a guy. I need somebody with a lot of money to get to the point where I build a prototype where I can get it. I can get it patented and everything else. What do I need? A total of $5,000. I mean, I could get that, but it's not. That's not it. And if I'm going to have a partner, why should I keep going out and borrowing money to do this? It's bad enough I paid 500 already. So if I'm going to have a partner that he's going to have half of me, and it's my idea, and I did all this research, and you got to put up the money and form the corporation. That's what has to be done. Now, the reason I didn't do that yesterday was because there's one ingredient missing. But once we get this ingredient, whoever is going to be involved, and I'm hoping it's Manny, and I'm sure it's going to be Manny, he's going to form the corporation, he's going to put money in the bank, and he's going to have a lot of money. He's better have a lot of money available, because before he does all of this and gets involved, he's going to have to understand that. And he has a lot of wealthy friends, but you better have because I can't go out on a limb and talk to the people, talk to Lisa from HISA and make this mandatory, and then well, we can't produce it. So that ain't going to happen. So it ain't going to happen this year. It's going to be everything's going to. But by the time I present it to HISA, it's going to probably be the beginning of next year. So the money we're going to and there's probably ways to get that money.
Houses condition.
And I'll look into that. But anyway, let's ask some of these questions here. And Ron, anytime you have anything to say, just butt in, because so
Okay.
far
Thank you.
I said too much already. Okay, let's answer these questions here. Eric says, any update on Walter Case's health condition? I don't know. Does anybody know?
I haven't heard anything.
He's recovering. He's recuperating. He's a handful. People I reached out. He's coming along.
Okay, good. Okay, here's a question from Eric. On Jeopardy other day, no one got this answer. This is the fastest ball sport. Hint, Florida.
Highlight.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, here's another one. Hey, Larry, in your opinion, do you think that there are not many great horsemen in this day and age, and that it strictly comes down to money and chemistry? No, I think there's a lot of great horsemen out there. They're really good, but sometimes sometimes to create a level playing field, you have to understand that certain things happen with a horse's body when they're racing. And one of the things that happen is that as they're racing and they warm up, certain chemicals break down in the muscle and they form lactic acid. Lactic acid stops the muscles from starts a burning sensation, and it starts being very painful, similar to, like I always use this example, walking through the airport with a heavy piece of luggage, and before you know it, you got to switch hands. You walk coming to a crawl, then you switch hands, and you're off and running again, and you got to keep switching. Same thing with lactic acid. It burns, and it slows you down, and that's why a lot of horses, you see them lose their action. They keep switching leads. They're running in. They're running out. Well, you can, and that's natural. So naturally, great conditioning can eliminate a lot of that, but not all of that. Now you get into the trainers that know about milkshakes, about baking soda. That eliminates that.
What's that?
What's that?
Yeah.
You know what that is? That's milkshakes. That's baking
Strawberry,
soda.
vanilla, and chocolate.
Yeah. So now you get the trainers that milkshake their horses, and now once you do that, you eliminate most of the lactic acid, and horses just go on forever. It's hard to pull them up. They just go very much like Secretariat did in many of his races, in all the big races. It just seems that he goes the last quarter as fast as the first quarter, which is really impossible in thoroughbred racing, but he did it. So now you can have a top trainer get a horse fit and ready, but you use them once or twice. A cheap horse you can only use once, but a good horse you could probably use them early and then still have a little left going. But with baking soda, it eliminates a lot of that. They just seem to go on and go on and go on. So you could be the best trainer and the best horseman and have everything perfect, but if a guy is equal to you in training ability, but uses a milkshake or some of these synthetic drugs like Epigen and stuff like that, you to just to stay on a level playing field,
You can't compare Epigen to baking soda.
No, I know, but
one's a drug and one's a natural.
Yeah.
You can't put them in the same league.
All right, so we'll just use baking soda. So that's the difference, and so there are a lot of good trainers. All the guys that are training now, the guys that are training now at the big tracks, they're all top. Not all of them, but many of them. There's probably 10 top guys out there that really know what the hell they're doing and pay attention. Uh, I know when the Swedes first came over, everybody was they came over. Everybody was infatuated with them, but I have to tell you, in my opinion, they were American trainers that were just as good, as not better, than the Swedes that came over. But what fascinated everybody with the Swedes is they would show up with these horses and they would have a bell boot on one foot or a bell boot behind, and they would have a half round on one leg, one foot, and a swedge on another foot, and they would do all these crazy things with these trotters. And that to a lot of the American guys that never saw this before, it says, "Oh my God, they must be the greatest in the world." But half of it was, in my opinion, half of it was bullshit. I mean,
Exactly.
so but they made a big impression. They come over here with a lot of their country's money, and they were able to buy a lot of good horses right off the bat. And then they got the name, they got the reputation. They started all of this interval training, and everything that they did fascinated the regular routine that Stanley Dancer and Billy Houghton and all of them guys, that Paul Vineyard and all of the guys early on created, and all the younger guys coming up would say, "Oh, look at this!" And before you know it, they were driving the blacksmiths crazy. How could you put a 5/8 half round on this one and just put a half-inch half round on this one and reverse this shoe here? They were driving the blacksmiths nuts, because I used to sit in the blacksmith shop a lot when I wasn't with the veterinarians, and but that's the stuff that happens. So to answer your question, Mike, there's a lot of good trainers out there, really good trainers, and they're in a tough spot now. And for years, they matched what they found out, because everybody finds out what they were using. And for years, all the top guys were tubing their horses. They were using baking soda. And when they switched to Epigen for maybe a different reason, they all switched to Epigen. But when they put the tracer in Epigen and they found out ways to find that, and they found a way to measure the gas in the horse's system for the baking soda and the milkshakes, they had to stop all of that. And now, the guys that were leading trainers that are in jail now, they weren't leading trainers prior, and I doubt when they come back they're not going to be leading trainers again. But they were leading trainers for a short period of time during that during that time when it was all chemistry, and I think probably it's still going on, but it's not as rampant, and that's sad, because there's there's a lot of horses that are going to be that are affected by all of these synthetic drugs, and it's sad, because, like I said many times, a horse can't tell you, "Please don't give that to me no more. It's killing my stomach," or whatever. A horse can't say that. And every drug has a side effect. And I have to tell you, I was for 3 days ago, I was in more pain than I've been in a long, long time. And it built up and it built up and it built up. And the problem was I couldn't even walk. I was so between the pain and I couldn't even walk the dog. I was so tired, I couldn't even get out of bed. And that's not me. 5 o'clock comes, I'm up and out and I'm raring to go. I couldn't even function. I couldn't get out of bed, because I start taking all of them pills again. And then I sat down and I researched every one of them pills. They were three parasite killing drugs and two other pills. I forgot what they do. And every single one had one of the side effects was lowering your blood pressure. Every one. Now, I have half my plumbing is gone. So I should be taking half the regular dosage, I think, because of that, I would imagine. But I'm taking 5 pills plus a blood pressure pill that lowers your blood pressure. That's why I couldn't even function. I just couldn't function, and I stopped 2 days ago. I stopped everything. I just stopped everything.
Even the ivermectin?
That's the only pill that I take now.
Well,
I
that's all
take
you should take. Your blood pressure pills and ivermectin.
Yeah, that's all I'm taking now. And all the rest of the stuff that they gave me that was supposed to support the ivermectin, I don't think ivermectin needs any support, and I
No,
just stopped taking them.
it
It got
doesn't.
to the point, Joe, where I couldn't walk a block with my dog. I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
I was just like a zombie. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't, and now I'm fine.
And to take it on an empty stomach will destroy you.
Oh yeah, that's real bad.
So anyway, so that's it. So Michael, yeah, there are really good trainers out there that are in a bad spot because and they all know each other. And but look, whether you're a good trainer, a top trainer, or whether you're a not good trainer, everybody in business, in any kind of business, is looking for an edge, especially in a competitive business, especially in the horse business. Everybody's looking for an edge, and that's just the way it is. And but there are good trainers out there, and unfortunately for a lot of years, it's been the money and chemistry. Okay, here's
Larry,
another.
can I ask? I'd like to ask all you guys a question because you're all trainers.
Go ahead.
I happen to notice on the a horse called Chantilly on the right front leg, right above the knee. It looks like a white race bandage and then a piece of black electrical tape. And now Ron Burke, 2 horses he raced out in Kentucky this week, he has it on one of his. His is on the left hand one. It's not a knee boot. It's just a bandage about 3 inches wide, white, and then there's a piece of black electrical tape going around it. Does
That
everybody know what that is?
And
that
where is it exactly?
Right above the knee.
it's
Above
right
the
where
knee.
a knee. Yeah, but it would fasten right where a knee boot would fasten, right above the knee.
Right
And
above, just on one leg.
I think I'm almost positive that started just when I got out of the business. And I think it's for in place of a knee boot, a horse that might just brush very, very light.
High.
I think because there's no other reason for something like that.
Yeah,
Except
it's only, I would say, 3 inches wide, and then right in the middle, it looks like a piece of black electrical tape. And then, like I said, I saw some. Ron Burke had a couple of real good 2-year-olds win at Lexington. One went in 48 and 4 or something like that, and his was on the left hand, on the left
if a
hand
horse
leg.
just very rarely brushes his knees, and I'm not saying that that's what it's used for because I never used one, and I was out of the business when they start doing that. Very few guys start doing that, but in my opinion, that's the only reason they would use it because when you're going that fast and knee boots, there's a couple of problems with a knee boot. Unless if a horse has a really good conformation in the knee, and the knee boot is one of them deep well knee boots, you still should have suspenders because now unless the trainer because if the groom puts it on too loose, the knee boot's going to drop. Nobody once they come out with these deep well knee boots, no everybody stop using suspenders. So now, if you want to be safe, you're going for $1 million. You don't want to take the chance of a knee boot falling. You use suspenders. But now, all of a sudden, you're adding more weight. If you make it too tight, it's going to restrict the movement of the horse. It's going to restrict the blood flow going down into the leg. So you get kind of creative. The first thing you do is you buy a deep well knee boot and you leave the suspender off. Less equipment. But that I think what you
But Larry, doesn't that go right on the side of the knee though? Doesn't a knee boot
Yeah.
go right on the side of the knee
Yeah.
like this?
yes.
This is up here. This is above all
Yeah, he's
that.
saying it's above the knee.
It's above the knee.
Well, the horse. So instead of wearing, well, first of all, they have boots that trotters wear, and they don't call it a knee boot; they call it a forearm boot. It buckles at the same place, but now there's a leather sleeve that goes up,
Right.
Above the knee. So if the horse just brushes that, maybe that's what it's for, rather than put. It's like a reverse knee boot. Like if you put the boot on backwards, it's like that. They use that a lot for trotters.
Right.
Not
I've seen that.
Yeah.
That it?
No, that's not it, Eddie. No, it's similar. Let me see that again, Eddie. No, that's not it. No.
It's
This is
in
just
the front of the
this
knee.
looks like somebody just took a white brace bandage 3 inches wide and then put a black piece of tape to hold it on. It's right, and like I said, where the knee boot goes on the knee. This is above it. This is right up on the leg like that.
That looks like some electromagnetic pulse, Eddie, or something.
No, what Eddie showed is some kind of that horse had bandages on. That horse is done up, so that wasn't for racing. That was putting the horse away. So they probably put some kind of something in that.
I noticed, like
an
I said,
electrical stimulator or something.
Ron Burke had it on the left leg of this pacer, paced in 48 and 4 or 49 flat. He had 2 of them that did that this weekend. I happen to notice, but the other one was Chantilly. That horse always wears that.
Well,
that horse Chantilly that races against that real good filly that's undefeated this year, Mike and Minnie or Mickey and Minnie.
I don't.
Yeah, he happened to beat her this weekend. Chris Ryder's horse. But she's not the one that has it. The horse's name is Chantilly that has it. I just wonder.
The Chantilly lace.
Yeah. Also, why Eddie's looking this up, why do some horses have their head pole not hooked up onto the top of the horse? It's just hanging down on the rein like that.
It's a line burr.
Yeah.
Line pole.
Yeah,
It's just a mild. There's no.
Is that it?
No, that's not it, Eddie. Sorry, that's not it. No.
It's just to have something there on.
But I've seen him. It's a regular head pole though, because when the horse pulls,
it's just through a ring through the line, and
in other words, they don't want it that tight up against the horse's neck.
Just to let the horse know it's there.
They don't need anything as
a
severe.
mild deterrent.
Yeah.
A lot of times, many times, if you have a head pole on tight, you start using a double ring. If you have a head pole on tight, what they'll do, some horses will just bow away from it so they don't hit it. But many horses, they'll lean right into it. They'll just lock right onto it, and then you can't even steer them. So then you double ring on. And what you're talking about with a line, when you put it tied to the line, what it does is it bounces off the neck, and they can't lock onto it, so they just from it.
That's it.
That's probably it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Manny just sent that to me, Larry.
And he just sent it to you. I got him on the phone. He's on the phone now.
That's it, Eddie.
Yeah.
What is that?
He just put it up, and the guy said, and Ron said, "That's it. That's it." Yeah. Listen, I put up a race for you to watch, but you weren't on. So anyway. All right, I'm hanging up because I'm on the podcast. But thank you for he hung up.
So what do you think that is? Well, what purpose is that?
I'm trying to find the name of the damn thing.
It has to be for a horse that brushes his forearm. That's what it has to be. What else could it be?
But Larry, those big boots you're talking about, those are knee and forearm boots, right?
Yeah.
It's a regular knee boot, but then it's got an extender up going up.
It's basically a half a knee boot. It's a half a knee boot. It covers the top half of the knee and goes right up onto the forearm. Yeah.
Houghton used to have that on a lot of his trotters. You You know, they were white. They were white, and then we had the suspenders. He would have the old fashioned suspenders that the forks were like surgical rubber.
Yeah. Right.
You ever see them?
They're called knee and arm boots.
That's it. Knee and arm boots, right, Joe? That's exactly
Elbow,
right. Knee and
elbow,
arm.
elbow.
You know.
No, elbow boots.
No, knee and
Elbow
arm
boots are
boots.
different.
Knee and arm boots is what we're talking about now. Elbow boots for when a horse foals, so has very high action and folds, and the foot hits the elbow. That's
I
very.
haven't thought of that one. Live Oak is
And
name.
Larry, that harness you made, wasn't that an uplift harness?
No, well, you see, that was the problem. Once I put the elastic girth on them,
Yeah.
and I put the bike through the loops in the harness. It you sat in the bike, it lifted up because all the weight. So I devised it so it was like a reverse where all the weight would be the more I pushed on the bike seat, the more the top of the harness would come down and the bottom would stay loose.
Yeah.
It was elastic and stay loose, and that would and that's where the horse's lungs are too. So a lot of people, they cinch these horses up so tight, it interferes with their breathing and with their lung.
You had reverse leverage, Larry.
Yeah, whatever you called it. Anyway, the harness shop robbed that from me too. It was a harness shop in Florida. He robbed.
They called it a slingshot. They called it a slingshot harness.
Slingshot, yeah.
Anyway, all right, let's get to these questions here. What's this here? Sheldon G. Shouldn't a driver using his head to hit the horse's head behind him be considered interference? I don't, because
if he means the horse that I was driving, I was climbing over the guy. I mean, I don't blame him for what he did. I would have done the same thing if a horse's face is right over here. You know, I'd probably hit him to move.
Well, that's what everybody does, and once you do that, and you shouldn't do it because every driver today is just going to bounce back and hit him in the nose. You know what you do is as soon as you feel the horse's head, you bow your head and you let the driver know that hey, back up a little bit. But if he stays there, then you just come back with your head and you hit him in your head. Or what you could do is then put your horse's nose on the side of his head and then just pull on the right line and smash him in the face.
That's what happened.
Okay, so I don't think that should be interference. I just think it should be.
If you hit a horse's nose with your helmet and you're backing, and it's like hitting them in the face with a whip.
No, that I don't think he meant that. Eddie, is the horse's nose was on
the
the
nose is on the helmet. It's on the helmet.
Right in his face, and he was hitting the horse's side of his nose with his helmet.
Well, that was the last thing I said, but what Eddie is saying is right. You could call it interference, but most of the guys, you don't have. First of all, many times before you can get, I don't know about the bikes today, but many times, if you have your horse's nose on the guy's helmet in front of you, your horse's knee is hitting his seat. So you really can't climb that much up on a horse. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I wouldn't call it.
If the horse makes a break, and then it's interference.
Yeah, you're right. If he does hit, you're right, Eddie. If he does hit him like that with his head, the horse may just might make a break. Once he makes, so maybe it should be called interference. I don't know. It should be. It should be, but I think the judges should look at it. And if the guy's just, because sometimes you ride right up on the guy and the driver realizes it and then he pulls him back off. But because
the way these drivers drive these days, they're laying flat back, so the head can be on the driver's chest. I mean, what's going on here?
The head is between the front legs.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Okay, Vic says, Larry, Mrs. LaChance I watched him on. He must mean Mr. LaChance. I watched him on the track for 15 years, and I lived in Lodi, New Jersey. I went to the Meadowlands every day when they were open. I'm a big bettor. Only win bets. Only LaChance is the only driver I trusted. Well, he's a good guy to bet on. Okay, same guy. Larry, I agree with you about Muscle Hill being the greatest trotter ever. I have to ask you, though, in your opinion, how bad of a beating do you think Muscle Hill would throw Dewey Cheat?
Beat him how?
Well, first of all, I think the greatest trotter nowadays is Muscle Hill, but the greatest trotter of all time, and I was told this by
Greyhound.
was Greyhound. Yeah. Greyhound was he trotted hooked up to a
He trotted 155 at Goshen when it was a
with
5/8 track.
with a stagecoach hooked to him.
Yeah, imagine they laughed at me when I said that. No way, no way, no way. Look it up.
Yeah.
And they went. There was no fifths then. It was quarters. It was like 155 and 3/4 instead of 155 and 3/5.
Yeah.
Let's see. I had to ask because everyone in 2008 thought Dewey was the greatest ever. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but I think Muscle Hill was the greatest. Well, the reason I said this is the same reason for two reasons. One reason is, for one reason, is that the trainer of the horse said he was never, ever challenged. Every race he won was in hand, and he was never challenged. So,
because it was the weakest bunch of trotters ever that year. That was the worst crop of trotters that there were in the last 25 years. Not taking anything away from the horse, but it was a very cheap bunch of horses that year.
all right. So maybe who knows? I don't know. I don't know. I was out of the game. I don't know. I only know that Greg Peck trained him and said that he was never challenged, and he was just a super horse. So, that's the same thing like Rocky Marciano. They say he fought everywhere. He's undefeated in 49 fights, and they say he fought everybody after their prime. Joe Louis, Joe Walcott, and all of them guys. So who knows? I don't know. It's very hard to tell. It's for me anyway. I guess if I drove both horses, I would have a real good opinion, but I didn't. The best trotter I ever had was MMF.
The one that finished fifth.
What fifth? What are you talking about?
The best trotter you had was the one that finished fifth in the Superfecta. You get it yet, Larry?
I got it.
And
But
fourth in the trifecta.
But they never put trot races in
I know, but if you said pacer, it's just a joke. But
yeah, I know. Okay, let's see. What's Sundance have to say? Horses have paralysis. Their upper glottis goes. No, she's getting technical now with this. Upper glottis only goes one way. That's why you really can't throw up unless it's something very good. You happen to be right, Sundance.
yep, it's a one-way street.
Howard, I'm in your prayers. Okay. Eddie, Jerry Piscino, best horse was
Pachinko.
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 Howard Liebman, Eddie, Jerry Piscino's horse was Pachinko. Okay, I thought I just put Tony Morgan.
Right.
Hey, you painted houses. Okay, here we go again. How about the young driver Brett Beckwith doing so well? Yeah, they say that he's probably one of the top in the country. I don't know.
That's
Good
Mark Betsworth's son.
Good evening, gents.
Sure.
No, it's thoroughbreds, but any thoughts on Ohio Racing Commission giving Top Jock a year for lack of effort in a race last week? I grew up with Suffolk, Rockingham, and seen worse. I didn't see the race. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to. I can't comment on it because I didn't see the race. I don't know. But a year for lack of effort. That's. I remember lack of effort. When I was around was 10 days. So that's a big thing. Lack of effort. I mean,
The whipping rule and these lack of effort rules are ridiculous now.
yeah.
Yep.
That's a big suspension for lack of effort, because lack of effort, unless it's extremely noticeable, it's a matter of opinion, you know.
Without a doubt.
So who knows? Okay, let's see. Shark Tank is your answer. Oh, here's a guy. Shark Tank is your answer. I guess John Joseph is saying that for my thing.
Yeah.
But I like what Joe said. That how the hell would I get in touch with that guy?
Elon Musk?
Yeah, man, he could probably. I contacted they do in fact it was Manny's wife that looked. I gave her the idea. I found the company, and I gave her I told her check this out, and she checked it out, and they says that the government is working. NASA is working on something that what we need, but it's not going to be for the public. It's going to be for their own use. So, but I'll get it. I already have something in mind anyway, so it's going to work either way. But one is going to be a permanent thing. The other one's going to have to be a renewable thing. Okay, let's see what this says. What's this say? Good evening, gents. Okay, we read that one. What's this say? Top guys got 200, 300 horses under their name. Yep, that's true. Let's see. There's a lot here. Anthony D. Going into the.
No, that's
Yeah.
the jock.
Yeah, listen, don't read no more of them John Josephs after that one. Me and Sundance got rid of him. He started to be a real scumbag with remarks.
Okay, all right.
I took him off all the people, but apparently you'll still see them.
Yeah.
So just skip past the prick.
Okay, goodbye. Okay. We just got word of another desperado. Okay. Anthony D. Going into the far turn, he did put a hammerlock on the horse for about a full 16th of a mile before letting him run. The trainer went to the stewards about the ride. 30 days would be fair. 30, 60. Yeah, okay, so that's what he did. So it was the trainer that turned him in.
Wow.
And,
Yeah, that was a stake race in I think it was Belterre or somewhere in Chicago or somewhere. I don't know where it was. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so but yeah, but 30 days would be fair, I think, not a year. But okay. All right. Bombs away, Bob Grant. What's IMO? What's that mean? IMO. IMO, the horse, on his own, got the lead from the rail going into first turn. All been spent next 4 furlongs, easing him back off the slow pace. Okay, well, whatever. Sundance, appreciate your prayers. Okay, that's Howard again. Everybody's wishing. Oh, here's Manny. I won't say a word about Dewey because I will be told I am biased because I am friends with Ray. But a friend told. Oh, here he goes. Here's a friend. A friend told me the greatest trotter ever was Greyhound. I looked him up, and it seems to fit the case. Yeah, I think I was the one that told you that, Manny.
No, I was the one who told you.
Oh,
In the beginning,
you
they
get
asked
the
that
prize.
question, and a guy laughed at me with the helmet. He says, "No way." He won 155. He's buried at
Larry,
Goshen Racetrack.
that IMO my wife just texted me means in my opinion.
Oh,
Oh,
The name of the horse.
We thought it was the name of the IMO.
That's how
IMO.
computer savvy we are, in my opinion. Right? You thought it was the name of the horse.
okay. George Morse just sent me. IMO means in my opinion.
Yeah.
First of all, speaking of George Morse, that's the guy that got in touch with me, Larry. The guy that you gave my number to.
Oh yeah,
I spoke to him today. Very, very nice guy.
yeah.
We spoke for about 20 minutes, and good guy.
I
like
forgot.
talking to him.
Why did I give him your number? I
For
forgot.
the
For that stuff. For that stuff.
for the what do you call it? The
Yeah.
Ozempic.
Is he going to send it to you?
Yeah.
Good. I
Yeah.
wonder how he made out with my friend with the cars.
Greyhound Prada.
Okay, let's see. David Arthur says Maclo Bell was my favorite. Here's PM says, "Hi Larry." Oh, this is the guy that wrote me PM. He wrote me a letter saying that he was the one that made a statement about Davy Handel, and I told him, I says it's hard for me to believe. He said that Davy Handel showed up at the farm and asked grooms for money with a 30-year-old car. And I said, I find that very hard to believe. But then at the end of that whole thing, when he come up with, it was around 1988, then I conceded. I says, well, I wasn't with him then, and it's possible because after me, I don't know how else he was. He had very few outs, and it was probably at Larry Kadish's farm, I would imagine. And I think even you says that he was buying some horses for Kadish, and so you could be right. So anyway, I apologized to him, and I says, please accept my apologize, and I hope we don't lose you. And I guess we didn't, because here he is. So he says, hi Larry, hi Joe. Have you ever thought about coming back and getting a stable full of horses again under somebody else's name on a farm? You're a horse trainer, not a soft serve guy. Well, first of all, I when I left the business, I was licensed. I got barred. I got barred for life in '84 for the second time, but then I through some connections and a lot of money, I got my licenses back. And when I did get my licenses back, because when I was, for them years I was barred, I went with Alan Sewell with the thoroughbreds. So I got my licenses back as a thoroughbred trainer and a standardbred trainer. And I trained all the way up until I just showed the race. The last race I won was with Search Mission, I think, and that was in 2006, I believe. And when I left the business, it was only because they closed the barn area at the Meadowlands. So I'm fully licensed right now. In fact, I was licensed last year in Pennsylvania when I was going to get back into the business with my friend, and we were going to start at Parks Racetrack. So I went down there and I got licensed as an owner, as a trainer, and everything. So I'm fully licensed, and I can get back into the business anytime I want. The problem is, where am I going? There's nobody gonna invest in me, and I'm too old.
I think it was for Joe too.
I could for the right amount of money. For the right amount of money, if I had an open checkbook with a lot of money, I would consider it. I miss it, and I'm legally get a license. I have no problem there. It's tough. I mean, I have health issues now, but I could still manage a big stable. Maybe I can't do all the things I used to do, but I still certainly know horses and could manage a stable. So I would consider it, definitely consider it. But I have to do things big. If I come back, I want to come back strong. I don't want to, come back with 1 or 2 horses.
Yeah, but Joe, they don't race that much anymore.
I'm not talking about thoroughbreds, Larry. I'm talking about harness.
Yeah, but where did you race it? The Meadowlands? What do they? You got to ship to it. You got to go to a farm, ship in, ship out.
I understand it. Like I said, I couldn't do everything I did, but for the right amount of money, I do miss horse racing. But you see, what happened to me was I lost 2 big owners within 6 months while I was going through a divorce. We're talking about 40 out of the 50 horses I trained. I lost 40 horses because they died. 2 guys died within 6 months, and the kids sold all the horses. They wanted nothing to do with horse racing. So I was depressed. Went through a divorce, and I just said, the hell with it. I said, I'm not going to go from 50 horses down to 4 or 5 horses. I just decided to pack up and move to Florida. I sold my farm. I had a big farm in Campbell Hall near Goshen. I had a 36-stall barn there. I had an equisizer. I had 13 paddocks, most of them over an acre each. And, I had everything, but big, beautiful 5,000 square foot house.
Howard Lieberman says, I'll say it again, Joe Guarino was on fire for a good 10 to 12 years. Was off the charts, taking 25, 35%. Yeah. I told you, he's a silent killer, Joe.
I'm not a killer. I got a good heart.
Okay, Gary D says Speedy Brown, the king of the sires, broodmare sires. Let's see, Ramblin' Willie won almost 80% over 3 years. Joe G won every night. Joe G won every night and prices over 3.5 years and averaged in his prime 20% at least. I told you, Joe is.
Thank you, Howard. A lot of compliments from you. I appreciate them.
Oh, here's Manny. Drivers today drive flat as a board. You'd think it really helps. I will leave my opinion out. You're right. They drive flat as a board. I was thinking about that when I was watching that thing we played earlier. I don't know if you saw it, Manny, with Ronnie Pierce, and how Ronnie Pierce sat in the bike, in my opinion, was perfect, because just like my friend says, you can't see through a horse. So no matter where you're sitting, no matter what kind of bike you're on, you still have to look around them because you can't see through them. And so whether you're leaning straight back or if you're leaning straight back, you're basically blind. You can't see nothing. You're just leaning straight back. You're looking at the sky. So, but if you sit the way Ronnie Pierce sat in the bike, that's perfect, because you could just look over to the right or to the left. You got a clear view at the racetrack, and that's perfect. It's just a perfect way to sit, where you have complete control of the horse, and you can see where you're going. And if there should be a misstep or something, you can actually help the horse stay up on its feet.
I think it became a very dangerous fad. Everybody had to do it, and it got more dangerous and more dangerous.
Yeah.
I could see leaning back a little bit. It's aerodynamic, but you have to be able to see, and you have to be able to check a horse when you have to.
And it's only a split second that you have to do it.
I mean, God,
Joe, years ago in Pompano, there was a guy called Kevin Wallace.
I know Kevin.
He had a single hitch sulky.
Oh, yeah.
It just right on the top of the pole, and he would lay straight back in that thing. Years ago, he would drive like that. That thing just swiveled on the. If that bolt came off, the whole sulky would come off.
Yeah.
Do you ever see that?
Yeah, I think he did that to keep the weight centered and lay
Yeah.
straight back because it
Yeah,
was
and he laid
it
straight
was
back, and that was in the 80s.
yeah,
He did that.
it was a swivel top.
Yeah,
Very dangerous.
very noisy too.
Okay, here's a question for me, Larry. Back in your day, what was the best thing for for a horse with bad feet?
Aquil.
There's oh yeah, well you mean a drug? I don't think he means a drug. I don't know, but
Oh, okay.
I don't think. How's it read, Larry? Back in your day, what was the best thing for a horse's feet? I
I
would,
With
mean,
bad feet.
yeah, I would think, yeah. A couple of different things. It all depends what you mean by bad feet.
Yeah.
Bad feet could mean a drop sole. It could mean a conformation defect, a club foot. It could mean just a natural sole that's a flat sole, flat to the ground. It could mean quarter cracks. It could mean that he was founded once, slightly
Hmm.
founded. It could mean a bunch of different things. Probably something that would help all of them conditions would be put them on peat moss. Just stand them in about 6-7 inches of peat moss, and that would draw all the heat out, keep their feet moist, and keep them growing out all the time. Uh, but if it needs more serious, there's a lot of things. I rather than poultice them every day, I'd rather keep them on peat moss.
Without a doubt. I had my whole barn on peat moss for many years.
So that would probably be the main thing. And then if there's other serious problems like serious quarter cracks or contracted heels or thrush or anything like that, the thrush can be healed very easy.
Bleach.
Contracted heel can be healed very easy. But
Just bleach.
yeah, bleach. The bleach for the thrush
brush.
and contracted heels. Just pressure on the heels, half a shoe. Probably the best thing, the easiest and cheapest thing is just put a half a shoe on them and leave from the middle of the shoe back to the heel open, and the heels will spread by themselves.
Right.
Well, we put a 3/4 shoe on.
3/4. Yeah, you put one of them crazy shoes on one of your
Oh,
thoroughbreds.
3/4. It's just like you just said, half. Half the back is a no shoe. 3/4. Instead of a full shoe, we go 3/4.
Yeah. What did I say? A half?
Yeah.
So you know what the difference between a half and 3/4 is? Probably a half an inch.
Yeah.
Give me a break, Eddie.
I'm just saying. I put a 3/4. I didn't say you're wrong.
The difference between a half and a 3/4 is a quarter.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Whatever it
Quarter
is,
milk.
That's true.
It's dynamics. That's all.
A quart of milk.
Everybody wants, okay. Big 2-year-old filly trot Saturday was won by a 6-pack out of a Win Song Lacey mare. I like that Win Song Lacey bloodline. Well, good. I don't have a clue. I have no clue about who's a good sire today. I have no clue. Okay. What's this say? Joe, why did you retire from training so early?
Well, it wasn't early. It was in 2011. I put 38 years in. And like I just said, my two big owners passed away within 6 months. And the kids wanted nothing to do with racehorses. They wanted to sell his house, sell his cars, sell everything. They were money hungry, greedy kids. And they had no interest in horse racing. It was all about inheritance. And it was depressing because I had a bond of claimers that I have to say I had the two best claiming horses in every class of racing. I had the two best in every class there was of claimers, and it just I was able to dominate, just jamming them every week, and not too many people claimed off me. So it was a good feeling to have horses like that.
Okay, here's Manny. Eddie, we hit him dead Sunday at Saratoga. If I was at the track, we would have needed wheelbarrows. Yeah, while we had the meeting at Manny's house, we watched a couple of races, and Manny and Eddie bet on the races, and they won. They had a good day. They watched a lot of races. Manny has a beautiful home. He has beautiful kids, beautiful wife, beautiful home. It was a good day. Plus, they won money. They won some money. They had a couple of drinks. I was surprised that you drank, Eddie. You had to drive home.
No, I just had a little, not even I had a shot of scotch and about 20,000 pounds of ice. No, I just sipped it. Matter of fact, I didn't even finish it.
Okay, Eric says big news. MLB supposedly having meeting regarding gambling after 2 players suspended for gambling. You reap what you sow. Mike, Greyhound was incredible for sure. Greyhound kept harness racing alive, although through much of the Great Depression. Yep. Here's Big Manny again. If Big Joe wants to come back, I have 4 yearlings this year, all Captain Nemo homebreds. They're yours, Joe. Let's go. Come back, Joe.
Thank you, Manny. And by the way, I tried to call you back, but I didn't get through to you. I left a message, or I texted you, or whatever. But we'll see if there's some kind of response. You never know.
No.
I'm getting tired of this ice cream game.
Okay, here we go. David, I'll get back in the game if Joe comes back. I ran second to him 1,000,000 times, it seems.
I wonder who, David, who is your trainer? Let us know. And where?
Sundance, Joe, you can call Trump to get Elon's number.
I was trying to think of a way to get through them. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I wish I could. I got to figure that out.
That was a good idea, Larry.
Yeah. So you're down for 10% because for the
Well, no, if you get Musk, you got to give me 15.
we got to figure out how to get to Musk. Wow, that's a good. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Wow. How do I get to?
Hey,
How do I get to Musk?
take a shot. Send him an email and see.
Wow. I gotta know somebody that knows him.
Larry, why don't you ask Larry Kadish? He's still living.
How do you get the Elon Musk?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I could drive out to Long Island and see him at the farm. He's. I'm sure he's back from Florida now. No, he's back. I don't think he left for Florida. Yeah, maybe. Why would he know him? I don't know. Anyway, let's see.
Ask him for the money.
Who, Larry Kadish?
Yeah.
Nah, I asked him for 300 million once, and he said he sold the business to his kids, and that loan, even though it was a well worth project, that loan was too big for the kids. He's retired now, but he's the largest fundraiser for the Jewish American Republican Party or something like that. Largest donor to the Republican Party. He's my age. He's like 85. He don't need any more money. He was a billionaire when in 84. Manny A. Don't get me wrong. Dewey was a very nice horse. Any horse that makes it to the Hambo is special. Wish I owned a horse like Dewey.
And a million other people too.
Tommy Dimes. He looks like a Tommy Dimes too. You guys don't talk about Donnie Pierce, Ron's dad. I raced with Donnie Pierce a long time. Many years in Monticello. and he was a top driver. The problem he had was that he liked to drink, but he was a top horseman, a top driver. He was really good. If he had his head on straight, he'd be one of the tops. But he liked to drink. He had that.
He had a bad back. Donnie Pierce. Wow.
Okay, let's see. Jimmy Morrell winning high percentage in races at Buffalo and Batavia. Yeah, well, Jimmy Morrell is one of the best drivers in the country. He left the Meadowlands only because when the sheet came out, he was listed on the fourth, fifth, sixth best horse in every race, even though he was as capable as anybody there.
He didn't get the breaks. Jimmy was a great driver.
Yeah.
And he's also one of the ones that started the flatback driving, flatback, which was, to me, it's going to cause a tremendous wreck soon.
Well, you know
what's a matter of time.
You know what's
going to be a tragedy.
Yeah. It's I even told that kid when he was on here, that 20-year-old kid that won all them races early.
Mm-hmm.
I says, I watched your first 5 races. I says, it's scared to death. I mean, you guys have, not only you talking to the kid, but every driver in that race leaning straight back with the lines just dangling. Absolutely no control, nothing. And if these horses weren't bred the way they're bred, where they're so sure-footed now, and these kids couldn't do that. You never, if you watch the races from Yonkers and Roosevelt back in the 60s and 70s and 80s,
right?
You might right at the wire or halfway down the stretch, you might see one loose line as the guy's whipping, finishing, maybe. And that's if the trainer or the driver knew that the horse was safe.
Right.
Today, you watch these kids today, it's unbelievable. They just throw the lines, and the lines are just hanging. And it's unbelievable. I mentioned, I said it on the podcast. I says, I don't know how you kids can do that. I don't know how you feel safe doing that.
I mean, I don't understand it. We grew up with the greatest drivers ever. In the 70s, 80s, the 90s, you got like John Campbell and Billy O'Donnell. They were never flat back, maybe a little bit more towards the end, but they were never really like flat back drivers. Hervé never. Buddy Gilmore never. It just wasn't necessary.
I think the proper seat should be just the way Ronnie Pierce sat in that one race where the races that he showed. That's the proper way. Just sit like that, not straight up and down like Lucien Fontaine used to say.
Not like 3 o'clock, but 10 to 3.
That's
what I call it.
Just like that.
3 o'clock was Hervé, but 10 to 3 would be perfect, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, let's go. Mike Dewey won 22 out of 25, won over 3 million. Ray would ride him every day. Okay. Manny Dewey was a cool trotter. Okay. Let's see. Larry, I blame that fuck Morty Finder just as much as Tannenbaum. Morty embarrassed him into doing something severe to you because people probably would. I mentioned the other day on a podcast that and I found it, that Morty Finder was just not a nice guy. And I found it. I wonder where the hell. Let me see if it's here. I found the guy sent me a newspaper clipping, and in the newspaper clipping, it had Morton Levy, who owned Roosevelt Raceway. Oh God, I hope I have it. And he said, I don't know what I do with it, but it proved what I said, that he was just a bad guy, always complaining to management, and just not a nice guy. And the guy heard that, and he sent me, and it was an article in the newspaper, and the guy sent it to me, I don't know what to do with it. But anyway, you're right, PM.
Larry, I had a dealings with him a couple of times.
Morty Finder.
Yeah. I mean, you know, he was a tall guy. He had that close knit hair. He looked like an ugly Jerry Lewis. You ever see him? That's what Morty Finder looked like, right?
Yeah.
Always with a heavy coat. And we were coming up from Florida with
Modifying that article.
I don't know how many loads for Houghton. We unloaded them, and it was a Mother's Day weekend, and all the trucks were empty at the Meadowlands about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and Apples Thomas called up and said, "There's one horse at the Meadowlands has to go to Pine Hollow Stud, Morty Finder's horse." I said, "Al," I said, "these guys are worn out. They've been on the road for 8 weeks." I said, "I have a truck going straight there on Monday. I'll take them up there. All right." He said, "Okay." Calls back 5 minutes later. Morty wants the horse up there right now. I said, "Listen, you know, you're going to pay for a whole truck just for that one horse?" I said, "Why don't you just let me get him on Monday?" He said, "Okay." 5 minutes later, he calls back again. Morty Finder says that if you don't bring that horse up today, right now, that he's going to tell me never to put any of the horses on any of his horses on your trucks again. Now, I knew that would be bad because how long would Apple separate, you know, giving 4 to me and 3 to somebody else? The story was that Morty Finder's kid was on the truck, and he wanted to get his son home. Another tall, he looked just like his father. And I had a hard time getting one of those drivers out of 8 trucks to drive all the way from the Meadowlands to Pine Hollow at 2:30 in the afternoon on Saturday when, like I said, they were on the road 8, 9 weeks straight. But anyway, Big Bill, my old standby, we put him on the truck and drove the one horse up there. I charged him $1,200 for that. And that was Apples told me to do that. And that was the one thing.
I found the paper. Here it is. Here's the newspaper clipping the guy sent me. And the headline reads, DA enters betting probe, driver's face lie detectors. So this is about an investigation, I guess, that was started by Morty Finder. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read at the end. When they went to Morton Levy's, I'll read from this part on. Okay, although it was complaints of smaller bettors which prompted district attorney to call for film reruns of the Superfecta at Roosevelt Raceway October 31st and the second race of the Daily Double there last June 8th, one of the game's biggest bettors has filed a complaint with investigators. He is Morty Finder, breeder of standardbreds and something. And a better at the $100 windows.
First class prick.
And $20 exacta and superfectas. He told Samuels last week of his doubts about some races that cost him heavily. Levy, learning of Finder's complaint, responded testily. Now, Levy is Morton Levy, the owner of Roosevelt Race. And here's what Levy said. He said, he'll talk to anybody who'll give him an ear. He has come squawking to me and my people, and he has been crying to the investigators. What someone ought to tell these people is that a lot of the money being put through the windows by Finder is not his own dough. It's other people's money. And when he loses it for them, he got to come up with some explanation. Finder was unavailable for comment, as was Robert A. Glass, the chairman of the Hunt. Okay, so that's what he does. And one of the guys at Morty Finder's table, there were 2 other guys, so they were 4 partners. There was Tannenbaum, and they were Morty Finder, and 2 other partners, 2 other friends of Morty's, but they were small bettors. And that was the time when they bet, and that was way in the early '60s when they were betting 3, 4, 5 million, and that was the race when Tannenbaum, Morty sat at his table. Tannenbaum was up in his office. They had the phone, and and he says, and I learned this years later when Morty, and because of Davy Handel, Morty and his partner gave me them 10 2-year-olds to train. And that's when we became good friends because I never knew what he did. And one night when we were out, me and Morty and Dave and the other guy from Merrill Lynch, um, he told me, he says, I was the one, he says, I hope you don't hold it against me. And he told me what happened. He says that he told when Tannenbaum called him on the phone, he says, "Who we got?" He says, "We're betting on the kid, betting 10,000 on the kid." And these are Morty's words. And Morty says, and Tannenbaum says, "Who's the kid?" He says, "That new kid, Larry Rolla, the provisional driver." He says, "You're betting 10,000 on him." He says, "Yeah, the kid's really good." These are Morty's words, not mine. And that's the race where I was sitting third, and I didn't come out at the half. And hope I get out late. And that's when Morty, after the race, I was climbing over the winner. I finished third, and Morty starts screaming. He stiffed him, he stiffed him, he stiffed him. And by the time I got to the paddock judge says, "You got 24 hours to get off the grounds." And that was it. And I mentioned that, and the guy sent me this newspaper clipping. This had to be from the 60s. And that's it. Morty started, according to this, he started this whole investigation because that's all every time he loses, he's forming another investigation. And Tannenbaum partners with him, followed through with the investigation and took his side. But Morton Levy on Roosevelt Raceway, you heard what he said. He's a crybaby. He listened to anybody. So anyway, that's that. Okay, let's see.
Larry,
Yes.
one time in the fall, we went and picked up 3 horses for Morty Finder for Pine Hollow. Apples told me to do it. And we had him in the back of the truck. We went to Stanley Dancer's farm to pick up his champion mare, Mistletoe Chalet. I don't know if you ever heard of her.
Yeah,
And
I
and
remember.
and that was Stanley's wife, Rachel's personal horse. And the truck got to Stanley's farm, loaded the horse, and the next thing the phone rings, and it was Stanley. He was going completely out of his head. He said, "Ronnie, this is Stanley." Yeah. I said, "What's the matter, Stanley?" He said, "You have any idea you just caused Rachel to have her 19th nervous breakdown?" I said, "Why is that?" "You got Morty Finder's horses in the back of the truck. You know I detest him immensely?" I said, "No, Stanley. How would I know that you detest Morty Finder?" And his words were, "Because everybody does. You should." So he had a reputation that preceded himself, but he didn't want Morty Finder's horses on that truck, right? And so he had a fit over it. But that's how much he detested him. The 3 horses would be in the back of the truck, and he didn't want to have the mare in the front with him. But
Well,
that's
him and Lou Guida, when we finally left Florida to come to the Meadowlands, he used to have Bob Bonney and some girl that Lou Guida, I think, was going out with or something. Um, come to everybody who was training their horses. There were 10 trainers that had 10 2-year-olds each. And he told me that my horses, they would go and they would grade all the horses, that I had the best grades and everything else. So, and that was good. So he got very friendly with me. And then we got to to Meadowlands. I told you that story. We were supposed to train and go a mile and 20 or something.
Yeah.
And he put me with Jerry Silverman, and Jerry wound up going to 212, and my 5 went where we were supposed to go.
On the muck.
Right where we were supposed to go, yeah, mile and 220, and come the last quarter like in 29 seconds, and we all finished together. Jerry was 100 lengths ahead of me. So after, a few hours later, because what Morty used to do with Lou Guida was bring all his people, all his investors to the Meadowlands, bring them up in the grandstand in the clubhouse on the Saturday, and you would go out in sets. You'd have saddle pads and everything. And you go out in sets, and he would say, that's his way of showing the owners their horses. So they come back to the barn, and Lou and Morty and Lou got to get out of the car, and they said, "What the hell happened?" I said, "Nothing happened. I told you, the thing was all these sets we were going to go in 220. You come the last half in 5, and the last quarter in maybe 29 seconds." And he says, "Yeah, but you finished 30 lengths back." He says, "I had to answer a million questions to the owners that own your horse. Why are you finishing 30 lengths back?" I says, "This is where I was supposed to go. This is where I went." Just then, he says, and then he said this, but I got so mad, but here's what he said. I said, "Listen," I says, "I can almost guarantee you that every horse that I have of yours, not only did I get the best marks from the people that you sent around," I said, "but all of these are going to make the races." He says, and I says, and Jerry's a real good trainer and a good friend, but I'm not sure. He keeps going 10, 15 seconds faster than he should at this point in them 2-year-old's career. I can't say the same. And you know what he said to me? And after I didn't want to hear it then, but he's probably half right. And he says to me, he says, if they can't handle the pressure now, let them go, and it'll save me a lot of money in stake payments. Because if they can't handle it, he says they're only going to break down at the same place in 3 weeks from now or 4 weeks from now when they have to go that fast. They had a good foundation on them, and I said, "Okay," I says, "if that's your feeling." Just then, Buddy Regan was in the next barn. He pulled up. I says, "Buddy, you have 10 stalls there?" He says, "Yeah, the whole backside's empty." I says, "Come and get these horses. That's your new trainer." And I throw him and Lou Guider out. But then I start thinking that he might be right. He might be right when why are you going to baby when you're paying $80,000 a year, say, for stake payments as they're growing up as they're yearlings, and you're keeping up all their stake payment and you're staking them for everything, and you have to baby them to I don't mean abuse them. I mean baby them because you're afraid maybe an ankle blew up a little bit. Just keep going with them, and if they don't hold up, they don't hold up, because it would only happen either in a baby race after you made another $30,000-$40,000 worth of payments. So he had a bit of a point there that if a horse is conditioned well and you bring him along well, and one day you go 5 seconds faster and the tendon blows or something, you're probably better off just remove and replace. So he has a point, but you got to be careful when you do something like that. But anyway, that's it.
Larry, John Nordine and his father would take 50 head to Pompano every winter, 50 horses, and come out with 10.
Yeah.
He would come 50 horses, and the father, Bjorn or whatever his name is, they would just hammer those 2-year-olds until and the ones that didn't break down, that was the ones that lasted, and those are the ones he wanted. But
Yeah,
they had the money to buy them, and that's what they did to them.
and it might that they might be something to that. I don't know. I remember one year. And I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Hervé Filion had a 2-year-old in a baby race in February, in a qualifier in February. That. So and he broke him up north. And when you break a horse up north, a yearling up north, you're going to lose at least 10, 15 days because of the weather, and then you lose the Sundays. But yet, come February, this 2-year-old was ready to go.
There
So,
must have been some typographical errors on those papers.
well, that could be true.
They did things like that.
Hey, Larry, you want to hear 2 very quick stories about Hervé? He told
Yes.
these stories at the training track at Pompano. He would have an audience there laughing like crazy. The first one was, does anybody remember when he got his toupee? When Hervé he got a full wig.
I didn't know that.
Yes, he got a full wig. And right next to Roosevelt Raceway was the heliport, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he used to fly to Freehold and then come back. The very first day he got his wig, he'll tell you the story. He come running out of the thing to get on the helicopter, and it sucked the thing right up off his head, and it went into the
Blades.
prop, the blades, and that was the end of his wig. So when he told that story, people laughed. The second one was when he was touting everybody he had the best burglar alarm system in Westbury. He said, "You ought to get this guy." He said, "This guy." They didn't have the sensors then. They just put a something on the doors and on the. He said, "I had
Yeah.
all my doors done, my sliding doors, my closet doors, garage doors." He comes in. He says, "I come home." He says, "Forget about that hiring that guy I told you about." He came home. A guy came to his back. He had a deck and the sliding door. A guy took a chainsaw and cut a whole new door right next to the sliding doors. Went in and robbed his house.
Yep.
But the funny part is the way he would tell that story. You know what I mean?
Don't
It was
man.
unbelievable.
Excuse
going through
me,
the roof.
gentlemen. I gotta sign off. I gotta get
Yeah,
up
I'm
early.
with you, Eddie.
All right, take care, Eddie.
Good night, Eddie.
Good night, Eddie.
Nice talking.
Take care, Eddie.
Anthony, you're leaving?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Yeah.
Okay.
Good night, Anthony.
Joe, I'll talk
Joey,
to
I'll
you.
talk
Anthony.
to you.
All
Nice
right,
talking
take
to you.
care, guys.
Okay.
Oh, how's Pop doing?
He's doing okay, slowly.
Okay,
had a
good.
few mishaps,
All right.
but it's pretty good.
All right,
Okay.
good.
Go to sleep.
Thank you.
Go to sleep.
All right, guys.
All right, Anthony. Go to sleep. I'll talk to you. All right. He's got a couple of more now. You can stay on a couple of more minutes, Ron?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let's see.
What about me? You don't ask me?
Can you stay, Joe?
Of course I can stay.
PM, Larry, I'll talk to Kadish for you. He loves me. I'll get you your mansion he built for you in the back. No, PM, that's very nice. Just tell Kadish. Do you know what I did? When I was with Kadish every day, I was with him every day. He was a great guy. And you know him well, so I'm going to tell you this because I can't tell it because nobody else would believe it. Kadish made me offers, unbelievable offers. Kadish made me to get in business, and I never took any of them. He bought even the guys that live with me. I wish Eddie was still here because Eddie was living with me with Frankie and Bernie, and they were living with me. He wasn't working, neither did Frankie and Bernie. I basically supported them all, and Kadish bought the largest orange grove. Now, PM, you know Kadish. He says he's your best friend. This is a true story. Kadish bought the largest orange grove in Orlando, Florida, or Ocala, Florida, whatever had the largest orange grove. And he wanted somebody just to live there and maintain it, and he would pay them a lot of money, whatever he wanted. And I told these kids that worked for me, I mean that live with me, Bernie, and I says, go down there. He got a house for you. He'll give you $1 million a year, whatever you want. And none of them would go. Kadish gave me opportunities. We used to go out in the afternoons and look for properties because he owned all the properties that the Kmarts were on. He owned 2,500 properties. And he turned them into big development. He offered me a piece of, we used to go looking for spots. He says, every spot we find, I'll give you a piece of all the action. And I wouldn't take nothing. I says, no, because I knew what he wanted. I was very close with Big Willie Farms, with Aaron Wagman. I was very close. And Kadish wanted me to be with him all the time.
Exclusive.
And I wouldn't. Because at the time, I had a lot going for me. I had girls. I had money. I used to go out every night listening to music. I was with the prettiest girls in the world. I had all the money I wanted. I had 30, 40, 50, 60 horses, I think, just for Kadish. And I didn't want to be, Kadish was looking to buy Roosevelt Raceway, building a mansion for me. He wanted me to stay there. And I turned down everything. Like an idiot, but he was a good man. But anyway, PM, tell Larry that I said hello, And while I was with him, he introduced me to one of my favorite singers now, and that was Charles Aznavour. And he was going to a concert one night, and I says, "Where you going?" He says, "Charles." I says, "Who the hell is he?" And he introduced me to him, and I bought a CD, and I still have it wrapped. I didn't even know I bought it for Larry Kadish 20 years ago, and it was called. It has a song on it called "Pretty Shitty Days," and I bought it for him, and I had all the intentions to drive it out, and that was 20 years, and I still have it. But I still have that CD for him with that one song on, with Charles Aznavour, a whole CD. And but tell him I said hello, and tell him I bought that CD for him. And if he's at Westbury, I'd love to come out there and spend some time with him and bring in that CD. He's a good man. Kadish is a good man. Just tell him I said hello anyway. Okay. What's everyone's thoughts on trainer Brett Pelling? Well, I could tell you this about his father. His father was one of the sharpest guys I ever met. His father came up to Monticello in 1971. I think he might have come straight from Australia. And he was in the same barn as me. And we used to sit down all afternoon and talk. And he used to have this brown paste that he was making up. And what was the brown paste? It was baking soda.
Brown sugar, cinnamon.
Yeah. And he make it in
applesauce.
Yeah, and he put it in a big dose syringe and just shoot it down the horse's throat.
Mm-hmm.
Said, "What's that?" And he was the first one that introduced me to baking soda, which eventually turned out to be milkshakes. And so I have to believe, and I hate to. I mean, his son is a great trainer and very, very successful. But I have to believe that if his father gave me all that information about baking soda, that he had to tell his son. And this is nobody knew about baking soda. This was 20 years before anybody recognized or understood what baking soda was.
He was the first one here.
He was that. And then the minute he got in trouble, and for 20 years, he was king of the hill. And the minute he got a positive test, he hit and run, but you can't blame him because he was going to lose. He just left the country.
But he was a good horseman too, Larry. You can't, you can't just have baking soda. You got to know what you're doing too.
No. I said that he was really, really good, but he had an edge that nobody else had.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
So Larry, Houghton Stable had a horse called Ombro Operative. It was owned by that McDuffie guy and Tom Walsh. Tom Walsh owns Colonial Wire and Cable. That's my biggest customer right now. They live next to my mother and father in Woodbury, and then I got to know him. Billy died in an accident, and then Billy Thomas, who still works for me, his father, who was Apples Thomas, he died also. And they gave the horse to Brett Pelling. A month after they gave the horse to Brett Pelling, he won every 3-year-old race there was. He won the Messenger or the Cane at Yonkers. He won the big race in Freehold, and he won the Breeders' Crown with him. Brett Pelling. I mean, he didn't have the horse for a month, and before that, the horse wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, so he stepped him up, and like Joe said, that's just one of the milkshaking is just one part of it. You have to have a horse that will get to the point where he needs milkshaking, right, Joe?
Yeah.
He can't go 3/4 of a mile. What good is it?
Yeah.
It's not going to make him go faster, but it'll get whatever they are. It'll get it out of him.
Yeah.
As long as
but I mean, he's. I know other people that had horses with him. They went down and saw him. He said he's like the calmest guy in the world.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you, Ron. PM says, Ron, when I first started, we two Monticello horses, we paid Jimmy Mitchell $500 in a cigar box to stay in Lou Miller's barn next to Twiggy's horses with Crazy Don and his old father that rode a three-wheel bike. You remember any of that?
Absolutely.
Yep.
They were in the barn in the back, and then Twiggy located or quit, and then Roosevelt Raceway let me build a whole repair shop back there. So it was a whole barn. The first room was actually a tack room. It had a sink and a heater, and then they had an entire barn. So I left 3 stalls, and then I built a repair shop onto the rest of the barn that went all the way back to the fence. And I made one was an oil room, one was a tire room, and then I had a lunch room. And then right next to the lunchroom was the last stall in the barn, and that was locked, right? Unbeknownst to me that this guy, Don, and his father were living there, even in the winter. So when we finally went in to the lunchroom, we noticed that there was a hole, like 4x4 hole cut in the wall going into the other stall. Nobody wanted to go in there because we know they were there. Anyway, the guy that worked for me, Kirk Bennett, went in there, and they had a catacomb built out of newspapers, for the heat. There was no heat in it. So in the winter, they actually had newspapers stacked, out from the wall 4 feet all the way around, and had like an igloo built. And that's where they slept, ate, crapped, and did everything, right? And finally, when we opened the door and literally ran them out of there, they left. But I found out previous to that the guy that not the son, but not the father, a reliable source told me that they caught the son on a stool up behind one of Del Insco's mares.
Yeah, I heard that story.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah, they threw the guy off the track.
Yeah, he was a big, goofy looking thing.
Yeah,
and his father used to ride around on a tricycle, right?
Yep.
But they caught him on a stool, on a stool, trying to mount some mare.
Right.
The poor guy's sick in the head.
It was on top of a shit bucket that they cleaned the stalls with.
Yeah, but and then they threw him off the thing, and then that was it. And then Lou Miller, he disappeared. He was a nice guy, but did you ever see the car he drove around in?
He was a weird guy.
There was just a compartment enough for him to get in.
Yeah.
He like the public. He had everything stacked up right to the back window, and
like Cherubino.
Yeah,
remember Cherubino?
Yeah, and that's what he was like. And he was just then, he's a publicity guy, I guess. And then he disappeared. But that's the funny. Who is this? Who is this person?
PM.
Yeah, who is that, Larry?
He gave me his real name.
Uh-huh.
He gave me his real name, and he says, my name is so and so.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it while I'm talking to you. He says, I'm PM on the podcast.
Okay.
And he gave me his real name. That's when he wrote me saying that he was really upset that I was doubting him and like basically calling him a liar.
Yeah.
And I wrote to him. I hope I could find it. No, maybe he sent me an email because I remember when I says I can't believe that Davey would do that, and then he wrote me. He says, I feel like you're calling me a liar. I have no reason to lie, and on and on and on, and I apologized. To him, and I can't find it, but he gave his real name, and I wish I could find it because I'd like to read what I wrote back to him, and I says I apologize. I hope I don't lose you, and I can't find it. But and he was nice enough to accept the apology, I'm sure, because he's back on here now. Yeah. And from what I understand is he's been in the horse business a long time, and for what he's saying, he knows Larry Kadich very well. He just asked me this question here. He says, Larry, I used to help my brother at Roosevelt in Barn A. He worked for Tom Moore. His second trainer was Vic Lutman.
I remember him.
I knew his son. Did you know Vic?
I remember Vic Lutman. He was a very nice person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Tom Moore was nice too. Tommy Moore was nice. Yeah, they was. I remember them. They was.
Okay, Larry, you skipped my comment. I was telling Joe. You're right, David. I did. I saw it and I skipped it because it was one after that. So I'm glad you wrote it back again. Joe, this is for you. He wants to let you know his trainers at Yonkers were Ross Cohen, Tim Case, and at Monticello, Johnny
D. Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably met you, David, then. I'm sure I met you. I know Ross Cohen, when he started out the business, he used to come to me all the time for my opinion, and we were friendly, and I went to his wedding. And Timmy, we were both leading trainers, so we were friendly together every night. Your name sounds familiar. I'm sure I met you. And Johnny DeSimone's a friend of mine for many years too.
Johnny's a good kid.
Yeah.
I think he's the starter now at Yonkers.
Yeah. Joey used to be the starter, remember? Joey and his son Joey, and then Johnny now.
They retired. Joe died.
Larry, you used to use DeSimone Brothers, right? Shipping the horses.
That's all I ever used. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used them too.
Yeah, I had a very good relationship with them. Right? And whenever I had an
They were
excess,
good guys.
I never used anybody but them. They were on time. They showed up. They did the job. Right? They gave me a bill. I paid them right away. They charged me a fair price, and they never tried to back sell me in any way, shape, or form. When he came to Roosevelt, when they came to Roosevelt with a horse, he would always come by and say, "Do you have anything to go back, back north?" Right? And I'll be honestly true for you. If I had one or two horses, I would give it to him to go back to Monticello. I'd ask him how much, and I'd give him a check right then and there. So I never had any problems with him. They were always good stand-up guys, and they knew how to drive too. So they always gave a horse a good ride. So I never had a problem with them.
They were very good guys. They were good.
Yeah.
They were a small outfit, but very good outfit.
Yeah, but they never like any of the horses I would give them to go back to Monticello or Vernon. They would never contact those guys again on their own. I'm sure they knew them, but they wouldn't do it. You know what I mean?
And they helped the small guys out a lot.
Yeah.
Ali and Joe were the best, and they the reason I never left them was because when I was going through a lot of bad times up there in the 70s, wherever I had to go, they never gave me a bill, and they used to lend me money, and I eventually paid them all back and everything. But that's why I never left them.
They got me out of a couple of jackpots too.
Okay,
They were very good friends with Frankie. They used to go to see him in jail every month.
Okay. PM says, Larry, Mr. Kadish's wife Susan was tougher than any horse I ever come across, and I'm not kidding you. Had to check your pride at the door. Let me just say this one thing about Kadish and his wife. First, I told you Kadish was one of the best guys I ever met, a real good, solid guy, and gave me a lot of opportunities. And one day I did something I shouldn't have did. I shouldn't have done. And his wife, maybe I shouldn't. His wife was at the time. His wife was doing sculpturing or something. I don't know, something like that, because she didn't work. And
pottery.
And no, it was like pottery, but sculpture stuff. But I have to say this, and I'll be kind about it. She was lucky he married her. She was lucky she married him. But anyway, what happened one day, PM, Kadish's wife knew of the girl I was going out with at the time. Her name was Aura. And Kadish's wife knew Aura, and Kadish knew Aura. But what they didn't know was that I was with Aura for a different reason. I took her out of the street when she was like 15 years old, 16, and then I stayed with her. Anyway, I won't go into that. But anyway, but after 20 years that I was with her, we start growing apart a lot. Just start growing apart. She started drinking and everything, and we really start growing apart. And I found out that she went on a cruise with my mother, and that she met a guy on the boat and everything. And I was too busy, and it was what it was because we weren't married. And so I met another girl during that time in 79 and 80, and a real sweet girl that had cancer. And I'm still with that girl, by the way. And it's been 45 years now. She had cancer. And make a long story short, I brought her to Dr. Burton in the Bahamas, and she got cured. And I've been with her ever since. Really sweet girl. But the kind of girl that she when she was dying of cancer, her boyfriend, her high school sweetheart, who she was engaged to, sent word up that he met another girl, and she was going to die anyway. So,
oh man.
But anyway,
nice guy.
So she wind up just calling me all the time, and I wound up taking her to Bahamas with her family, and she got cured. And then she got a job at Eastern Airlines. I was racing at the Meadowlands at the time. It was 1980, and she would get off at midnight. The last race would get off at midnight. I'd be in the Holiday Inn, and I'd order a steak every night with a glass of wine, and she would come in from her job and have a steak with me. And that's how it went for maybe 3-4 months. And then one day she says, and I never even kissed the girl, never. And but getting back to the Kadish thing, we become very, very close. Me and Joanne. Her name is Joanne. And one year, I think it was 81, I took her to Florida. Her and her girlfriend. Her parents wouldn't let her go with me alone. Her and her girlfriend, I put in the Diplomat Hotel, and I told her to come to the racetrack one night. So she came to the racetrack, and when I called up for a table, and they gave me the table right next to Larry Kadish. Now Kadish was there because I had one of his horses in that night, and I asked Joanne to come to the track, have dinner with me. I was in a later race, and the horse was going to win. So I come down the steps, and Kadish is sitting at his table. And Kadish, I go sit down, and Kadish calls me over. And he says to me, my wife, Susan, knows Aura, and she's not happy that you're with another girl. And she wants you to get a different table. And I said to Kadish, I says, tell your wife to mind her own business, and I'm sitting at the table where I'm at right now. And if she don't like it, she can move to another table. Now, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but that's how I felt. Like if you don't know the whole story, just keep your mouth shut and everything else. But that's what she said, and she asked Kadish to tell me, and I wouldn't move. And I says, if you don't like it, you move. Now, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but that's that. I mean, if you don't believe that story, you can ask Kadish, because I have no reason to lie about nothing. But I never, but that's how close me and Kadish was. But I believe Kadish should have told his wife, mind your own business, but he didn't. But he took care of her because she needed to be taken care of, and I'm putting that kindly. So you says about her, she was tough. She was tough, yeah, but she was, I don't know how tough she was. I never had much. I had no dealings with her. It was always with Laris, but she was lucky she had him. but I don't know if you should tell Cadis that story. But Cadis is a good man. He's a good guy.
Larry, I can tell you something. I've been married to my wife 55 years. She would never say that, ever. If we were with somebody, she would never say that. She would have never said that to you or anybody like that.
Well, it's tough because I wasn't with the other girl. I mean, I gave her a house to live in and everything, but for the last 5 years, I really wasn't with her. And I was just paying attention to the horses. Did she live in my house? Yeah. And then 4 years later, I found this other girl that really needed help, and I helped her. And she was a beautiful, beautiful girl. And so I really think that before you make any I understand the position she was in. She didn't know. But before you make any statement, especially a statement like go to another table, know the whole story,
Yeah.
But they didn't. That's what got me mad. Like
I don't blame you. Larry, listen, I got to go. But anyway, I see that Manny says here, he said, Ron, question, what do you do now? I'm still in the trucking business, but I haul freight now. General freight. No horses. It's still called Woodbury Transportation, but not Woodbury Horse Transportation. So that's it. So
Okay.
Larry, I want to say good night. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it,
you.
Joe.
Thank
I'll
you
talk to you
for
soon.
coming on. And
Good luck with your father.
Anytime you want to come on, Ron, just let Joe know, and I send the link, and no problem. I'll send you a link all the time anyway. I'll send you a link all the time, and on Tuesday, if you want to come on, you come on.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good evening, all right?
Okay.
Ron, good talking to you,
I'll talk to you, Joe. Take care.
Yeah, we'll keep in touch.
Yes, we will. Good night.
Okay, buddy. Say hello to the wife.
Okay.
All right.
So that's it. So now it's only me and you and no other questions here.
Me and you, and we need Elon Musk.
Elon, yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah, right. Now you're going to got me thinking of that. Oh,
I thought of it right away. I wanted to tell you, but I didn't think it was going to be over the air. But I didn't say nothing, so. But that's your contact, man.
Let's see what this PM. Larry, during your heyday, was kicking a horse a common occurrence, and did it really help a horse? Who the hell is this? Oh, that's
PM.
That's Ron. Larry, during your heyday, was kicking a horse a common occurrence, and did it really help a horse? I never did. A lot of guys, what they used to do is take their foot out of the stirrup,
Just
put it
drop
down.
the foot.
Yeah,
Hit the
just
hock.
drop your foot, and it would hit your foot would hit the horse's hock, and and that was it. Did it help? I don't know.
It spooked them a little bit, but they got used to it after a while.
Okay, let's see here. Ron. Okay, Ron. Manny asked that question. Ron answered it. Uncle Ali DeSimone also sold hay.
Yes.
Sundance. Larry, read your text. You missed David. Told Joe his trainers. Yeah, we did that already. Manny, Larry, do me a favor. Play this song before you get off. I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play it right now, Manny. He loves this song. This song was written for me. Joe, I'll talk to you during the week. Tell your father I wish him the best. Say hello.
I will, Larry.
And I'll talk to you. So,
all right. Good night, everybody.
Everybody, we're gonna go out with this song. Manny likes this song.
It is a good song.
Okay, let me get down to it. Okay. Here we go.
Dump those grudges, ditch those judges, they're just wound. Drop the haters, procrastinators, 'cause one man's smile is just another one's frown. When it's time for the end, ain't no warning, my friend. One day you're here, next stop the pearly gates. So listen close to what I'm saying. Lighten up, it's getting late. dump collections, self-reflections, they're just covered in dust. Why obsess, worry or stress? Just ask yourself, what's the fuss? When your doctor calls you on a Sunday afternoon, gonna be a blue Monday, you'll be howling at the moon. You know you never can cheat fate. Lighten up, it's getting late. Forget bling and glitter, text and Twitter. Don't need it to make my case. Say it old school, face to face. Dump the users, soul abusers, turn and walk away. Give yourself a kick in the ass, then raise your glass. Let's toast to the past and make the most of today. Keep the faith, rise above, do the things that you love. Find a reason every day to celebrate. So listen close to what I'm saying. Lighten up, it's getting late. Live it well, have a blast. Live it full, life goes fast. You're carrying around too much dead weight. All the simple things are all that matter. Lighten up, it's getting late. Oh, what the hell? IGL. Oh, lighten up, it's getting late.
Good night, Larry.
Good night, folks. All right, Manny just sent me something. Self-reflect there. There's just covered in dust. Manny A. Self-reflect. They're just drop those haters. Self-reflection is just covered in dust. I don't know what that means. Manny, I thought I was going to sleep and I couldn't. Drop those haters. Self-reflection, just covered in dust. Okay. Good night, folks.